Defining Duke is brought to you by Surfshark. Get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free. That's surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
And we are live. Defining Duke and Xbox podcast, episode number 97. And I'm joined by a special someone, the mayor of the town. I still call you the mayor. I don't care what no one says.
Fine. Let's go for it.
Mr. Ben Smith, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. It's Maddie's gonna pay for making us record this early, but other than that, I'm all right.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, man. Salute to Mr. Matty Plays. Hope he is feeling better and not doing too well. So gave him some time. So you know what? You could do the show, but you need a little time to recover. We got you. So enjoyed to do this right here, my man Ben.
You know, he said he didn't have much of a voice, and that probably wouldn't have been great for people to listen to anyway. So we'll give him some time to recover. Yeah,
we don't want Froggy Matty, but Matty, you'll get better. Send some love to the Duke, the co-host, Mr. Matty Plays, and hopefully he'll be back soon. But we got some games of the show to talk about, man. So let's get right into it. Show notes, early access for the show goes live on Thursday over on patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hit free feeds like Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and plenty more on Sunday. Furthermore, you can watch the video version on the Last Stand Media YouTube channel. And then I want to talk about Defining Duke Ultimate episode 93 with Mr. Matty Plays. We talked about, is it time to overhaul Xbox achievements? Great discussion. Really, I felt we attacked it from different angles. Constructive criticism, you know, so it's something I feel like patrons really need to get a hold. I tell people all the time, Ultimate, that's my show. I think we really target some stuff. And what do you real quickly think about achievements as they currently stand? I'm very curious.
I had a good time listening to that episode while editing that episode because I just feel like, for me, even though I don't really care about platinums, if I have the option of playing a game on PlayStation or Xbox, even if let's say they're both for free, so there's no question of money, and I got to choose which one to play. If there's a platinum that I think I want to go for, I'm probably going to play it on PlayStation. If there was a 100% completion of some other type on Xbox, with all that said, I don't really personally care about those 100%. But if it's there, I kind of want it.
Exactly.
You know? So, I think they need to do something. I'm with you guys. I thought it was a good episode.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think definitely some time to take a really in-depth look at it. So go check that out. That is up on the Patreon right now. And Mr. Ben, man, we got something cooking. We got an evening with Last Stand return. I actually got the shirt on that I wore at the last one.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man, let's talk about it. What's going on with this Last Stand get-together again?
So we've just recently, within the last week, announced we're having our next live show. It's going to be all of the Last Stand family is going to be there. All the hosts will be on stage. Colin, Dustin, you, Maddie, Chris, Dagan. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anybody. You guys will all be there. And it's going to be in Houston, Texas. Michael will be there. Yeah, I just met on stage. But yeah. Yeah, for sure. Zilka Hall at the Hobby Center. February 24th. That's the date. February 24th in Houston. And tickets go on sale tomorrow, February 11th, for patrons. So if you are listening to this or watching this and you're not a patron, you already missed it. But if you are a patron, get on that.
Get on that.
But then they'll open up to the public on, I think, the next Monday, so November 21st. Anyway, yeah, tickets will be on sale. They're all assigned seating. You don't have to worry about, where am I going to sit? Where am I going to stand? Who am I going to just pick out your seat like you would for a normal concert, that kind of thing. It should be a good time. You guys are all going to be there talking about the most overrated video games of all time. And I can only imagine. I just hope somebody picks somebody else's favorite game just out of spite. and just see how it goes. I just want that to happen, but we'll find out.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah.
It's funny is, not to spoil, but like some of the patrons at LSM fam they know some of the things I dislike, and they would start in trouble, and they were like. They were like, say this because we know this sacred boy won't like that. And I'm like, look, calm down, relax. I got my ideas. But it's going to be funny to see what comes up. Shout out to Colin, man. I think this is a great topic. I think first of all, I love when we get together. So that's dope. You know, just all of us in the same spot. Remember when the man picked me up at the airport and I came through for my first one? That was fun, man. I never forget those moments. And we had fun in Butler in the town. You know what I mean? So Houston, get ready. LSM fam is coming. So yeah. So we got that going on, and let's get into some follow-ups and starting questions and stuff like that. Shout out to Nearly Crazy. He says, hello, presenting your engagement at the Microsoft shareholder meeting, Maddie, and Phantom Powder Thieving Cock. No question this week. Just wanted to congratulate you both on your recent successes. You two are easily some of the coolest people to interact with online. So it was great seeing Maddie's engagement announcement and seeing the Iron Lord celebrate a live special episode and attempting to steal King's knees on the way. Much love and respect to both of you, and may the good times keep rolling. Salute, Nearly Crazy, means a lot. First of all, shout out to Maddie Plays, because I hit him up personally. I was like, bro, made me tear up a little bit. I like the picture. You know, he was leaning up. She had, you know, the ring, the proposal and all that is going down. It was a beautiful thing to see, you know, to see someone find their kind of life partner and accept. It's just a really beautiful thing. It is hard to find good people out here to partner with. So salute to that. And then, of course, shout out to the Lords. Lord Addict came to New York City for the first time.
Oh, the first time.
First time ever.
Okay.
He pulled up. So I kind of gave him a little bit, as much as I can, of the New York experience in a weekend. We have like kind of like these, I call them like bougie movie theaters where it's like dine in. He'd never been to one of those before. So he saw Black Adam. I took him to see that. You know, he got used to pressing the button for service and people bringing food to him. So we did that. And then
Did you
we
take
had
him to Sparrow for some like authentic New York pizza, you know?
We're not going to do that. We don't talk about that. We did pizza. We don't talk about that place. So yeah, man, it was cool. We did Play NYC convention. Kind of like a small indie convention in the city, really cool. And then also we had a dinner at one of our favorite spots. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. And then on Sunday we did the live show, which is what Neely is talking about. Our first little mini attempt at a live show.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy overall what we attempted to do. We learned a lot, you know, live. And listen, I got so much respect for you after that. It's just
Wait, not before that? You didn't have
not as much, but now more so. Bro, the preparation with a live show, there is a lot of nuance to that. And I realized it afterwards, because when you're a perfectionist, you're like, damn, it's could have been better. And you really have to think about all these different things as far as technical issues, audio, the whole bit. So we learned a lot, but I'm still so glad we did it. So salute to that. I saw that channel. And the last thing, in reference to the pizza, we took him to an authentic pizza spot. Good. Told him how to fold that crust right, that New York gourmet thing. And we took him to Bleecker Street downtown. He liked it, but he liked our chicken spots better. But salute the Addict and salute to Nearly Crazy. Yeah, we're going to get into it. Next on the docket, Final Fantasy 16 is only PS5 exclusive for 6 months, according to the latest Sony trailer. Lee is Cool Jenkins writes in, hey Dukes, are we hyped for the news that Final Fantasy 16 only has a 6-month exclusivity deal on PlayStation? Are you hopeful that we will see it on Xbox in late 2023 or 2024? Maybe a day one Game Pass drop. Also, does this give us hope that one day we finally get Final Fantasy 7 Remake on the series consoles? Many thanks, and as always, and congrats to Maddie on the engagement. So yeah, Ben, what do you think about this, man? Final Fantasy 16, we see the news, PlayStation 5 exclusive for 6 months. You know, how do you process that?
I think that's a good thing, because there's a sign there that then it may come to Xbox. My problem is that we know in the past there have been deals that were only for a year that suddenly are just eternally exclusivity deals. So I think it's good. I think there's some hope there. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft threw a bag at them and said, look, we're serious this time. We want it actually on our system. You can do whatever you want with Sony. Maybe they're paying you more, whatever. But I just hope that, you know, for the sake of everybody out there playing on the Xbox, that they don't extend it in perpetuity, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my thoughts are exact. You know, it's overall, it's a positive thing because you see there's a finite end, right? And it's quote unquote public to it. But, you know, Xbox fans have been in this situation before. Oh, it's, you know, going to be a year exclusivity. But the difference here, I think, is that this is a little bit more forward facing as opposed to Final Fantasy VII Remake initially. But yeah, I think it's a good sign overall. I think that Microsoft is really trying to crack the Square Enix code. I kind of get I get the feeling they kind of, I still call them the mercenaries of third party. Yeah. You know, they got great IPs, but at the same time, I think it feels like they operate almost like in silos and make deals, you know, because to me, some of their deals are just inconsistent, you know, Octopath Traveler 2, this one, that one, and then Xbox will get, you know, Final Fantasy VII, you know, Crisis Core. It's just all over the place with certain things. But I think overall it's a good thing. As far as this question, as far as Game Pass drop, doubt it. Generally, when I see exclusivity from Sony, I would think there would maybe some language in there that might prevent it from that. But who knows after the 6 months? But my gut says there probably won't be a Game Pass drop. But we'll
especially
see. I mean,
these days.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear stories now about how they're not only buying exclusivity, but also working out deals to block it from future subscription services. So, and that's, I mean, it's their business model and it works for them. But I don't think we're going to see a Game Pass day one drop on it.
Completely agree. And to his last question about do we get Final Fantasy Remake on Series consoles? Oh, this is a tough one, man. I'm getting Destiny 1 kind of energy with certain things, man. I don't know. I would hope so. My gut right now says yes, but knowing Sony and how they value that IP specifically, that Final Fantasy VII, let's be honest, for all intents and purposes, really made Sony PlayStation 1 like an RPG, you know, machine. It mainstreamed JRPGs to the world. They understand the significance, and I think they are going to extend that as much as they can. And if Xbox get it, they may be on to the next thing or something like that, where the value of remake kind of goes down. Right. And that's what I mean by like Destiny energy, whereas like, I think Destiny 2 came out when, you know, the exotics that were exclusive and the content that was exclusive came from Destiny 1 now were available. So it kind of devalued it, but we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, Modern Warfare 2 has surpassed 1 billion and is the fastest Call of Duty to ever beating out actually Black Ops 2, which reached the same milestone in 15 days. This would mean that within 10 days at the timing of this story breaking, Modern Warfare 2 has sold 16 million copies and is likely surpassing 20 million as we speak. Man, you've been playing some Call of Duty, man. What's going on?
Yeah, I've been playing Call of Duty since Call of Duty, the original. And I don't know why. I have some ideas why this game is selling so much. I mean, we've been told or had some rumors that we're not getting another Call of Duty, a different title at least, until 2024. So I imagine that makes the buy-in a lot easier for people. We also just had a lot of people still like them, but 2 softer Call of Duties with Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard. So people are thirsty. And then like, I don't know. There's just like there's the hype with Warzone 2, which I know will be free and everything, but people are excited about that. So I think the Modern Warfare brand carries a lot of weight too. Like putting that title on the box is going to sell copies. 2019's Modern Warfare was really good. There's a lot of reasons why this is selling so many copies, but I'll tell you this. I'll talk about it later. If there's this many people playing the game, it's still taking me forever to get into matches, and I'm getting into matches without full lobbies because there's still so many issues with the game. I love it, but there's so many issues. So I hope that the money, not as if Call of Duty needed to make more money, but I hope that the money they're making fixes some of these issues pretty quickly. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think in agreement on a lot of that. I also, you know, I think for me it's always been, I think when we had Rand on last, we talked about like the modern setting, right? And I think for me that even attracted to me. And I used to be that Call of Duty guy. I used to be the guy every year I pick it up, I go through it. I kind of fell out like after like the Black Ops 3, and then when it went Infinite, I kind of lost it there. But it was one of those things. It was my ritual game, and then I remember the campaign and beating it on veteran difficulty, and that was like a badge of honor. Like, you did that, you got that achievement. So I am tempted with this one. I think what I'm trying to do is probably say, okay, you know what? If the Activision Blizzard King thing goes through, maybe they might, we'll see. I know it's a long shot, but I was hoping in that regard. But no, it's good to see. It's good to see it's doing its thing, and like you said, holidays, you do the marketing, you do the deals and it's the bundles and stuff like that. I think it's going to continue to so hotcakes. It actually justifies Sony's position of how much of a game changing, irreplaceable game. There's not. These are the type of things that really strengthen that argument.
Oh, they were the first ones out with the tweets about how well it was selling, for sure. They were the first ones out with those tweets. Look, everybody, look how integral this is to our system. All I know is that I'm playing on PC and my buddies on PS5 have a skin that I can't get, and I'm like,
yeah, about time. Yep, you're right. Moving on. WrestleZone reports that AEW Fight Forever is dropping day one on Xbox Game Pass. However, the AEW Games Twitter account pushed back against the notion. They quote, and I quote, "The internet is buzzing about AEW Fight Forever, but the @AEW Games account is the official source for all news and info related to AEW Fight Forever. Hang tight for a new exclusive AEW Fight Forever update next Saturday, November 19th, during AEW Full Gear 2022. This also seems like a good time to share that we don't anticipate AEW Fight Forever being part of any monthly gaming subscription services." What's going on? Who is in Game Pass? Who's not? What's going on, man?
I don't know, man. I think that either somebody doesn't know. There's a couple different options. It's really not coming to subscription services and people got their wires crossed. Or somebody who's making these statements doesn't know that it's coming to subscription services. Or, I'm not implying that anybody's lying, but you want your pre-orders to keep rolling in for as long as possible. So maybe we direct it towards somebody who doesn't know and tell them to make this statement, and then you keep getting a couple pre-orders before you make that announcement. But I would imagine that where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe it's not coming day one, but I would think that it's probably coming eventually. But I don't know. I know you're an AEW guy, or at least Maddie is for
casual.
Sure.
Maddie's the hardcore.
And I like wrestling, but I haven't played a wrestling game. I know we haven't had an AEW game, but I haven't played one in a long time, Gog. I haven't played one in a long time.
Yeah, no, same here. The thing that's giving me hope for this particular one is that one of my favorite wrestling games, the favorite wrestling series of all time, is kind of what I consider the N64 games, which was like then started with the WCW, and then it went to No Mercy, WWF No Mercy, and Aki was the developer, and I love their kind of like paper, scissors, rock system. You know, they had the chest out, block, strike, grab, you know what I'm saying? And it was so, I just love the creativity with that fighting system. And I feel like wrestling games really hasn't been that good since, in my opinion. But this kind of gives me little vibes from it when I was watching the gameplay. Engine, could use a little work. But no, look, I'm in agreement with you. I think when there's smoke, there's fire. I think someone potentially jumped the gun a bit. That's a mistake you don't usually make, right? Just to announce, hey, this is a Game Pass. Like, you can really do damage by making a mistake. So I think it's I'm leaning to what you're saying, which is, maybe someone higher up knows that it will go there into the service. Right. But to your point, right now, that's not in the plans. Let's get the pre-orders, let's get that money up, and then later we can make that announcement, whether it be, 6 months or a year, And I think that's what probably went on here. So I wouldn't be surprised we revisit this later, and then it comes in Game Pass, and we go, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Moving on, Phil Spencer is excited about the idea of revisiting seminal titles like StarCraft if the Activision deal is to close. Are you a StarCraft guy? Or?
I am a StarCraft guy because I like RTS games. I never got as into StarCraft as I wanted to. You ever? I don't know. There were times in my life where I was like, man, I really would like to find a game I could just get addicted to. Like at one point I was like, I think I'd like to be addicted to WoW. But obviously, like being addicted to something is not usually seen as a positive thing, right? But anyway, no, I like StarCraft. I'm excited about revisiting seminal titles, but Cog, I need Lost Vikings. I need the Lost Vikings to come back. Do you remember the Lost Vikings, Cog?
I do remember Lost Vikings.
We need them back.
Respect. This is the part of the deal that I'm excited about, and revisiting old titles, giving titles love, and the Blizzard part is extremely underrated to me, and I'm excited to see what they do there. StarCraft, it's so I'm even looking at WoW, like, hey, can we do something? I know it's PC, but if there was ever a console port, I mean, again, I know that it's probably so much technical lift to do something like that, but I just like the idea of a potential of infusion on titles that have been dormant or just need a boost. So I like to hear stuff like that.
For sure.
Symbiogenesis, a trademark submitted to lead people to believe that Square Enix is reviving Parasite Eve, is nothing more than NFT garbage. Thoughts, sir?
I don't know much about Parasite Eve. I know that there was a lot of buzz, obviously, when they trademarked or patented, whatever they did. They marketed the word symbiogenesis, which led a lot of people to be really interested. To find out it's NFT garbage is more disappointing to me than normal because it's from Square Enix. And I would assume that Square Enix, I don't feel like they normally play those games or make those games. But yeah, it's not great. What about you? Are you a Parasite Eve fan?
I played the original. The original. For its time, it was really like a graphical showcase, really cool game, little darker themes and stuff like that. But once I heard this was attached to NFT, I was like, I'm out. Not really interested. So that's me on that. But moving on, and we got more Disco Elysium news, and this is the ZA/UM misconduct kind of going on. So basically, for those who don't know, Disco Elysium, the act directors accused ZA, I'm going to call them ZA for now, shareholders of fraud, as the company says they were fired for misconduct. So now it looks like it's got even more messier, where they're accusing majority shareholders of obtaining control of the company by fraud, and saying that these employees were fired for misconduct. So this is still raging on. I don't know if you played Disco Elysium at all, but or just even if you didn't, just what's your thoughts on this situation? This thing is still going on to raging back on with a legal battle.
Yeah, I mean, I like to try to take people at face value, especially when they're making a public spectacle of it, one way or another. So I'd like to try to take that, but for me, it's hard when you don't really know much about the company or the people involved, like personally at least. You see what's in the media, you see what they present to you, but you got multiple sides saying multiple things. And for me, I know this is I'm on a podcast, I'm supposed to say this person, whatever. But I'm just very much a sit back and wait till the cards shake out kind of guy. And this doesn't have any personal impact on me. That doesn't mean it's not personally affecting other people. But I think that there's probably, again, not to use the phrase again, but where there's smoke, there's fire. There's probably something fishy going on here. But it seems like either way, somebody is not telling the truth, obviously. And which one that is, I can't possibly make that consideration. I can't make that determination on that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm probably a little too close to the situation in the sense that I am such a Disco Elysium fanboy.
Yeah,
I love that game. I remember people talked about it. It's a good thing I did play it late, because I think when I played it, the director's cut voice acting was added.
Yes,
and it wasn't there initially. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that has some of the best voice acting in gaming. And I love skill check games. It's a great detective story. I mean, this is world class stuff as far as writing and just in a time period and an art style. And it just bothered me that I'm not going to get most likely a sequel, or it may delay anything that's going to go on with the game that I love. So I am pro developer, so I have a little bias when I hear their concerns and hear that the leads and stuff are going to get removed from a project very, very abruptly. So again, to your point, Ben, I do tend to lean on the side of, okay, let me wait and get all the information, because we've seen situations where people jump out the window, make claims about mistreatment, and then but you know what I'm saying, and then things come out, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, you didn't tell all of the complete truth. So I'm with you. I tend to err on that side. It's just disappointing for me because I love Disco Elysium so much, and this doesn't look like it's gonna end well. So about that.
The only thing that makes me kind of think that I'm sure that people were kicked out and maybe they were fired for misconduct. That kind of seems like maybe not the case. But you get new people coming in as majority shareholders. Of course, they're going to want to do what they want to do with their new company. And I get that, but it's the accusations of misconduct and stuff like that where I'm like, well, okay, so we were on your side before, and now we're hearing there's misconduct, but we also know people lie about misconduct and things that didn't really happen. So, again, I'm willing to wait and see how it shakes out. Unfortunately, it's probably going to go to court, and hopefully it's going to work out well for whoever the actual offended party is. It will work out correctly for.
Absolutely in agreement there.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Surfshark. This video is not available in your location. Does that sound familiar? If it does, then let me tell you why a VPN is the solution to your problems. A VPN doesn't only increase online privacy, which you definitely need, it also helps you access entertainment, because the content you see is limited by your geographic location. If you use a VPN, you can change your virtual location and forget about restrictions and censorship. I love using Surfshark because it allows me to unlock entire new libraries on streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and Disney+. Can't watch a YouTube video? Connect to a different location with a VPN. Let's say you can't access websites or apps through school or office networks. Try a VPN. Get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free. That's surfshark.deals/Duke. Enter promo code Duke for 83% off and 3 extra months free.
Final bit of starting news. Kojima in the news again. He's the latest on the abandoned conspiracy theories. Actually, I got to quote this. I thought this was quite hilarious. He said, he spoke openly for the first time about the controversial indie title Abandoned. Shout out to Colin for securing one of the better interviews of the year with that. Sorry, you gonna say something in reference to that before I continue? Okay. Yeah. So. Okay, cool. So pretty much he goes, users just keep sending me pictures of this Hassan. Kojima told Keegley, he said, they still send me collages and deep fake images, like 20 a day. It's really quite a nuisance. And he starts to laugh. So he continues on with that. And then also another, and shout out to IGN, and then pretty much they're talking about how he's kind of offered a lot about the studio, like to kind of like buy the studio. He's approached by ridiculous offers, he says, to buy. He says every day, I'm approached by offers from all over the world to buy our studio. Some of these offers are ridiculously high prices, but it's not that I want money. I want to make what I want to make. That's why I created this studio. So as long as I'm alive, I don't think I'll ever accept those offers. And then the final bit of Kojima news was the footage kind of leaked of this announced Overdose game. It seemed that similarly linked, and it could be a horror game, and there's a couple of images that are floating around online. So, compiling all the Kojima news. What do you think about the abandoned stuff, studio offers, and of course the potential Overdose game leaks?
I just love the idea of Kojima as we know him in all his glory, just like hanging out, looking at Twitter and being like, why are all these people sending me this stuff? And like, part of me thinks he was probably being legitimate, that he doesn't know what they're talking about, like it's weird or whatever. But I also know he's been playing into this a little bit by not saying stuff. He's seen it. The guy is an internet fiend. Like, he's all over the place all the time. That's just really funny to me to think of Kojima sitting there looking at me and like, who is this guy? And why do people think he's me? Yeah, exactly. The studio, him getting offers for the company and wanting to turn them down, like, we know Kojima is like an insane visionary. We also know there's stories about him being a little bit of a control freak and kind of, and not in a bad way necessarily, just he's a creative. That's what he's doing. And that doesn't surprise me at all, that somebody who has that much clout behind him, probably is fairly wealthy, if I had to guess, that he would not need somebody to come in and tell him what to do or not do. That doesn't surprise me one bit. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Overdose leaks? I haven't heard you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if that is the Xbox game that he's working on or whatever, supposedly, allegedly, if that's specifically the one, because they hear the rumors of a Death Stranding 2 specifically with PlayStation, and then this is the Xbox game. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, from what I saw, I didn't see anything that looked, atrocious or something that I'm like, okay, what is he doing? Now that I've played Death Stranding, there are some things about it that I always felt Kojima could be one of the first people as a creative to really utilize cloud in a really effective and maybe unique way. And I'm curious to see how he kind of leverages the tech. So that's my most exciting thing about Abandon, about Overdose, So, I'm willing to give it a shot. I think, and one thing I have to say about him, with Decibel Engine, the game gonna look good. I'm not worried about the game, to be honest. So that looks cool to me. And then as far as the Abandoned Conspiracies, I just roll my eyes with this stuff.
I'm over it.
I'm over it. I'm done. I'm like, it is what it is. It seems extremely ridiculous to me. But to your point, it is funny that he kind of played into it for a little bit, and now all of a sudden he's really stepping away from it publicly. So I thought that was interesting.
He knows what he's doing with the way he's playing into it and stuff. I mean, he likes to hear people talk about him, I have a feeling.
Yes.
So
absolutely. And the studio offers actually, not that it surprised me, but it was interesting to hear him publicly say, hey, I like my independence.
Right.
I want to be separate. Because you can't tell me that people are not trying to drop bags to get him. And to your point, we've heard the stories. We know the infamous, situation with Konami, and it was very unfortunate, but at the end of the day, he is a creative. And sometimes creatives, they have a vision they can be controlling, and sometimes resources and the publisher's, view of things will bump heads, right? Yeah. And when you have a person with his cachet, that makes it harder to control a guy like that, because this is the great Kojima. He created Metal Gear. Who are you? So that's the push-pull that I see. So I think he's making the right decision, honestly. And I kind of like him being able to say, hey, I'm making an Xbox exclusive. Hey, I'm making a PlayStation. And you go as you please. And I think that's actually really cool. So salute to him for that.
Agreed.
So we're going to get into what we are playing. And it looks like we both share a specific game. But I'm going to let you start off first. So what you been playing, Mr. Ben? What's going on with you?
So the first thing is God of War Ragnarok. Sorry, I found out I was going to be on the show like 9 hours ago, so I didn't have time to play a bunch of Xbox exclusives. But no, Ragnarok came out yesterday. I got to play maybe like 2.5 hours of it. So I don't really have a whole lot to expand on other than like, it's beautiful. So far, it starts off with a bang. It's compelling so far. I will say that I'm a massive fan of the series, but especially of the reboot, of the 2018 reboot. So for me, this was like a really anticipated title. So I'm enjoying it so far. But again, I'm not far enough in to really make any good judgment calls on anything.
Yeah, no, we're the same. We're the same here. And that was it. You was playing that, and before you jump in.
I was playing. I've been playing, like I said earlier, a lot of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. Like I said, I've been a Call of Duty guy for a long time. I used to stream it all the time as well, and it's just been a good time hopping back in with the boys, getting in there, clicking on some heads. Just pretty much. Almost every night, hopping in for at least an hour, if not more, hopping into the lobbies. The lobbies are wild. Everything about this game feels pretty good. The movement's great. And I'm mostly playing multiplayer for what it's worth. I'm like part of the way through the campaign, but I haven't finished it yet. But I mean, that's what we play Call of Duty for anyway, right?
Exactly. Thank you. Educate Randolph, though. That's what the community plays Call of Duty for.
Yeah. He's like, I don't like multiplayer, but I've played 200 hours of Warzone. Come on, Rand. Come on.
Randolph Slander. We love you, brother.
Yeah. But no, it's so right now I feel like the map rotation's pretty good. The game selection rotation is pretty good. We're getting some updates next week that they revealed a little bit of yesterday, I think. But I will say that the game is still full of bugs. The game at first, and not bugs in the actual gameplay necessarily, but like it's hard. The matchmaking is sometimes hard. When I'm playing specifically crossplay with more than 3 or 4 people, it likes to crash, or the menu just, while you're loading into a new game, the menu's just frozen. You can't adjust your guns. There's some quality of life stuff I think they need to do. They need some UI changes. I could go on about all the problems with it for sure. What I will say just is it isn't quite there as far as the overall experience, but the moment-to-moment gameplay when you're actually in a game playing is as good as Modern Warfare, specifically the line of Modern Warfare, has been in a long time. And
Nice.
it's one of those games for me where I like to think I'm okay at Call of Duty, but really playing Call of Duty for me is just getting to hang out with my buddies in a Discord voice call or something, and slide around and find all sorts of new guns and stuff. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot.
No, it's good, man. I keep hearing, I'm so tempted, man. I keep hearing good things. And Modern Warfare was my jam, man. That was, look, I betrayed Halo for that. I remember, like it was yesterday. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, what is this? This is so much fun. The gameplay loop, I was so addicted, doing the prestiging, unlocking your attachments, your little perks. And yeah, man, you're taking me back. And I know how that loop is for me, so I'm tempted. Yeah. But like, I'm trying to hold out. I'm trying to be greedy. I'm trying to see if something happens. I get some benefit out of this deal if it goes through. Yeah. That's what I'm holding on. But salute to you on that. And yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I'm sorry. I know this is Defining Duke, and I apologize. But look, there is a generational title that is out, that is critically acclaimed. I played God of War, 2018, love what I played. And yeah, Ragnarok, look, it's the zeitgeist. It's the moment. Mm-hmm. This was the game I was actually anticipated for PlayStation most of the entire year. So, yeah, I've been playing. I'm in the same boat as you, about maybe 2-3 hours in. I got started with it late. And the set pieces are, it's just, this is why I tell Xbox fans, listen to me. When I say #just1, this is what I mean. It's that cinematic quality, that over the shoulder. It's the storytelling. It's the attention to detail, the subtleties. And this thing is a looker, man. Even the way it hits the ground running, the snow and the sleds and the fur on the dogs. And I'm just looking at little things, and it just goes to show you, like, I think there is a difference with studio. Not all studios are created equal. You don't necessarily have to have the most powerful box, so to speak. If you have good devs, right, and they have that attention to detail, you can put out product like this. And I'm more than capable that Xbox can do that. But I like to see this because I want people to understand why these type of games are beloved so much. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's really nice. I'm having fun, so I've been rocking that. And then obviously, I got to talk about the home team a little bit. Iron Man VR came out.
Sorry, conflict of interest. I got to rate this up for you.
Yeah, just a little bit, shout out to the home team. But look, man, I'm a big MC. I'm a fanboy, and I never got a chance to play this game. I think this title was initially on PSVR 1, and I never got a chance to play it. So yeah, this is your Tony Stark, baby. Like, this thing feels good. The flying with your hands, moving around, the repulsors. Actually, great cinematic storytelling and transitioning, and I'm really enjoying it. So those have been the two main stuff. I have been playing Xbox games. So everybody's like, this is Defining Duke, and he hasn't mentioned one Xbox. I know, comment boys. I know. There are Xbox games I play. I just can't talk about them right now for reasons. But trust me when I tell you, next Defining Duke, I have a lot of good things to say about some stuff. And so that's been pretty much the major, gameplay and things for me. So we're going to get into the warm-up questions. Shout out to Josh Correa. Hey, Dukes. Firstly, a big congratulations to Maddie and his girl on their recent engagement. So this Friday, we're going to be the original release date for Starfield, but with recent rumors and speculation about it being pushed back even further than the first half of next year, what is your overall gut check with Starfield? I have total faith with Bethesda and God Howard, but still, it's tough playing the waiting game. Thanks, and have a we won't see Starfield 2 for 20 years at this rate kind of day. So, man, what do you think about Josh's point about, Starfield, your gut check, how you feeling about? I don't think I've ever heard you talk much about Starfield, or at least I don't recall. So, tell me what you think about it.
I'm excited for Starfield. I think it's BGS. I know that I'm going to enjoy it at least an average amount, if not love it, of course, just because of the studio that's putting it out. I mean, they don't, other than some bugs and stuff here and there, they don't miss usually as far as what I like. I think it's going to be a landmark game, and don't want to repeat a lot of the stuff you guys have said on past episodes, but I think that they got to get some things right, but they've already got so much going for them that I think it's gonna be good. But I'm I keep hearing and seeing people write in about rumors and speculation about delays, and I've heard you guys talk about it. And this might just be, I don't follow the right people on Twitter, unawareness, whatever. I haven't heard those rumors and speculation anywhere but on this show. So I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know where they're coming from. So it's hard for me to really comment on it. I will say it's not going to be a fun time in Xbox world if Starfield gets delayed again. It's not going to be a fun time for the fanboys and everything. I mean, the fanboys are going to have a fun time, don't get me wrong, on the PlayStation side. But it's not going to be a fun time to be an Xbox fanboy because that's going to hurt. And they already delayed it potentially up to a year or more. To delay it again into the next year is going to be rough if they got to do that. But where are these rumors? Educate me. Where are these rumors coming from?
I think where it started is Xbox fans, the conversation started again. I got to shout out Rand. We had this internal debate that we made public, right, behind the scenes. Yeah. And what it was is we were under the impression if Starfield makes its date within the first 6 months of 2023, are Xbox fans satisfied with a year of, Starfield, Redfall, and Forza? And Rand's thought process was, that's an L. That's not enough, right? Yeah. So where this took traction about potentially Starfield being delayed is me and Jez Gordon, because what happened is Jez is like, Starfield is so important from an Xbox first party and a new IP that they have to nail it, right? So Jez kind of initiated that, he wouldn't be surprised if it was delayed. He wouldn't be upset because his thought process, he knows Microsoft needs to nail this, especially after the Halo Infinite situation, right? Yeah. So it really it wasn't because we heard anything.
Okay.
It was just more so Starfield needs to land, so give them as much time kind of a mentality, right? So people started to run with that narrative, and then that's when the real argument happened, which was if Starfield is delayed, and it falls into that second half, can you put anything next to it that was supposed to be planned for 2023, maybe in that same spot or in close proximity? And that's where the debate kind of raged on. So I'll give it back to you as far as, that. I'm actually curious about your thoughts on that.
Oh, you're 100% wrong. It would be a major L. Yeah, it would be a major L if your biggest game of the generation probably gets delayed twice. And you still haven't had any other major exclusives, I think. I mean, I wouldn't be offended if it got delayed. I think I want the best product possible, but it would be a fail, in my opinion. It would be a bad thing for the morale, I feel like. I mean, just think about how big of a gut punch it was when Starfield got delayed out of this Friday, right? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, that would have been the thing for the year. There was a lot of people who buy systems for one game, and then they end up, getting into the ecosystem. There's a lot of people who were looking forward to that game and still are, obviously. But if it gets delayed more than a full year, and then it's still got to be perfect when it comes out. It's really got to be perfect then when it comes out. So with that said, I wouldn't personally. I mean, I got plenty to play all the time. There's no shortage of games out there, especially for somebody who's willing to play, across all different consoles and platforms. But I want it to be good. So I'm fine with however long it takes. I just don't think it's good for Xbox and Bethesda specifically if they delay this game. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have any successes. I'm saying it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look real bad.
How quickly we forget. This is the problem with gamers. I love you guys, but this is when gamers kill me. And and shout out to Ray. And look, I get it. Everyone, it's like a 90% disagree with Cog. I know I am dying on a stake. I'm by myself. I got, the
You're
classic
waving your Xbox flag out there.
Yeah, it's the classic Game of Thrones meme, Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow. He sees this is me, right? And I get it. All you Starfield guys, I get it. But it's just like history has just shown us what happens when we put something out ahead of schedule when it's not supposed to be at a marquee title. And I look at Halo Infinite and I'm like, we have the example right in our face, right? And I get it. Yes, from you guys, to the letter of the law, the optics are bad, right? I'm not going to minimize that. If they come out again and say, hey, we need a little bit more time and it's fall of 2023. Now, where I'm completely with you, if they be like, we need them a little bit of time. And unfortunately, it's not 2023. Now you're like, whoa, what's going on, right? Because you delayed it a whole year. You still need more time. I get it. To me, I think, let's just say hypothetically, it was, May or June, or June, July. And they said, okay, from June, July now, it's like September or October. I don't think it's as bad as people, I think that you get the blow, get over it.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did they put a date on it when they delayed it?
So what they said, what they said, they were kind of crafty because they kind of said, everything at this showcase is going to be for the next 12 months. So kind of like a June to June kind of situation. And that's when but they didn't give a date, right? So they just said, everything you see down here is the next 12 months for Xbox, boom. So you're like, okay, it's going to come technically in that first half of 2023, just when, right? That seems to be the thing. So, my gut check to Josh's question, I still feel strong about it. I think Todd, this is the A-team Bethesda, so to speak, they need to land this, right? Mm-hmm. And this is my final counter to everyone, and I get it. They need it. It's not going to look good if it does get delayed. But I think that the year that Xbox could potentially have, right, with the titles we talked about earlier, right, the Redfall, the Forza, but I think we're forgetting about the third-party game pass deals, the other deals in games that haven't been announced yet that could kind of fit in slot. Yeah. And the last thing is the elephant in the room to me is Activision Blizzard King, because for most regulators and most corporate lawyers, shout out to Hulk Law, my man, we anticipate the deal to go through. And if it goes through, you're talking Diablo in Game Pass, Diablo 4, that is a huge shot in the arm. Just to announce anything that was coming into this or from Activision Blizzard King that was new into your service, and then think about the infusion of games from the backlog of Activision Blizzard King. And I think that, combined with some more things we probably don't know about, could still make a strong year. And I will say my last point, when Starfield does come out, I do feel it has that zeitgeist, Elder Scrolls, Elden Ring kind of energy, where people go, hey, where are you at when you're playing this game? Where did you fight this? Did you go to this planet? And you start seeing those type of things. My gut feels it's that kind of a game, and I think that gamers will forget. As soon as they see a hot trailer and they think, oh my God, yeah, okay, cool, I'm okay with it. But we'll see. Yeah. I mean, but a lot of people agree with you, and we'll see how they'll be able to navigate that if they have to delay it.
And I will just want to reiterate, I was on Team Delay Halo Infinite with you guys. Okay. Yeah, I was there.
And you ain't on it now.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if Starfield needs delayed, it should get delayed. But that doesn't mean it's not a major L for Xbox.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's fair. And optics will be bad. Your apps, I'll give you that. That is a fair point. So moving on, Sean Y. Hey, Dukes, what are your thoughts on the Gears of War adaptation and Xbox seemingly willingness to engage with these type of efforts? Do you think they've earned it? Or do you think they need to put a pause on these type of deals and focus on delivering games consistently first? So we saw the announcement, a little Netflix action, a little potential, little anime thing, live act. What do you feel about all this, man?
I like the idea of a Gears of War series, but I'm a little worried because I don't know how to say this without sounding offensive. Gears of War is kind of like, I like Gears of War, so I'm not putting it down. I'm not putting the people who play it down. But it's kind of like a meathead game. Like when you see the characters, you're like, they're a bunch of guys who they got more muscles in their head than brains, And so I'm just a little worried what this could turn into on a mass market appeal, that it might end up being like a typical bro shooter movie or something like that. With that said, I think it's like worlds I love getting adaptations for them, even if they're not very good. Like I'm gonna at least like them a little bit because I like the property. Some of the casting ideas that I've seen out there, people throwing out their picks for different characters, have been really fun to watch and like think about. But I don't know. I think that Gears of War is a big enough series that it can survive even having a bad adaptation. With that said, I don't want to see another bad adaptation. I want to see good adaptations.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Great point. And to the question, I think that I don't look at this as like these announcements as like, okay, because this is announced, they're not putting in the quality with the Gears series anymore. And, their attention, their focus is diverted. I don't look at it. I think that's separate. I think they will pull on teams like the creatives or the narrative leads to get the sense of Gears of War, what's important, before the movie studios and so on, take their take on it. I'm with you. Gears of War is overdue. Gears of War is overdue, man. Like, they've been sitting on this for a while. I mean, regardless to how I feel about Halo Infinite, Halo, the Paramount series, the TV show, it did well. They were greenlit a season 2 even very early, but Gears makes sense. I'm with you on, it's very dude bro.
Yeah.
So when it's so dude bro, you wonder that it's okay. You don't want it to be cheesy. I want it to have, if they're going to do it, and I may get a lot of criticism for this, but I'm a Gears 1 energy guy. And I still feel that even though I like the rest of the series, Gears 1 to me, I'll never forget the scene with the Berserker. Mm-hmm. Drops down in the room, and there's this unkillable thing that you can't deal with. It's knocking towers down. You're like, what do you got to do? And that's when you break outside, you get the Pill of Autumn, and you do the thing. I remember scenes like the when you learn about the Krill, and it was kind of like that bat-like thing. Mm-hmm. Those creatures that kill you when you're in the dark, and you had to go from light source to light source to kind of survive while you walk. It gave me dark horror. I was kind of, scared of the locusts. Like, it was, I missed that. Now I feel like they're so dude bro-y, and like the thing with Gears now, like they're so old, like they'll do the most ridiculous things, set pieces blew up, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's just a Tuesday. That's just a Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, it's, for me, it's like, it's, forgive the comparison, but it's kind of like Fast and the Furious, the movies. Like the first couple were like, okay, yeah, this is a little, over the top, whatever, but it's a fun movie. It's a good movie overall. And then you get to the later ones, and it's like, we got cars flying from one skyscraper to the other. We got stuff happening. And here's the thing. It's still fun. I've accidentally seen like 7 of the movies. Accidentally. Yeah, like I've intentionally watched a few of them, and the other ones I'm like, how did I end up seeing this? I don't know. But I think it's that same kind of energy in a sense. Like they started out more grounded, and as they realized they could just embrace the chaos, they did. And I think there's a place for that. There's clearly a place for that because the series is successful. Other things like that, like Fast and the Furious, make tons of money. But I just worry when they change it in the different mediums. That's the thing that gets me, is that you can do that ridiculousness in Gears of War. In Gears 5, you can have insane stunts and stuff happening that couldn't possibly ever really happen. It's a video game. It's supposed to be that way. If they put it in live action and they do that same stuff, that's rough. It's got to be something like an anime or an animated series, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about live action.
Bro, that was literally my next point. I was going to say, it's the live action part that worries me. Because if you don't nail that, you put a stain on it, gamers kind of turn up their nose. And I remember watching the Halo series, and people were like complaining about the smallest things, and they were like, "Yo, this is not authentic. What's going on here?" And then the Covenant and this girl, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." But I'm with you. Live action is a lot of pressure to replicate things and make it look and feel right. And with the anime, I'm confident because I feel you can get really creative, you get more visceral, you could do more cooler things. So the live action is what I'll be paying more attention to see how they nail that. But yeah. That's what we got. Yeah. Moving on to Ty. Well, hey, defining Dukes. He said, since the Halo Infinite winter update will be out, I got to ask, have you tried it yet? And what are your thoughts if you have? I'm personally excited to play some co-op campaign with friends. However, I shoot my friends, and now we can't complete the first level type of day. So with the winter update, I know we got the campaign co-op, we got the Forge, a lot of balance changes, a lot of things added to it. Is it time for you to pick up Halo Infinite yet? Where you at, man?
It would be time if I weren't so deep into Call of Duty right now, if Ragnarok wasn't out, if I wasn't trying to work through Requiem, play through Requiem, if Pentiment and High on Life and stuff like that weren't coming out. Like for me, I'm not saying this didn't hit at the right time for everybody, but for me, this update did not hit at the right time. And I'll go back to Halo. I love Halo. I played a lot of Halo Infinite multiplayer. I don't know if I ever have a desire to go back and play the campaign again. Maybe with a friend or two would be fun. But yeah, for me, it's just it's the wrong time for the right game. I think you're in the same boat.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Like, that's literally my problem. And I'm like, and this is what frustrates me. Because now I'm like, man, if this was done so much earlier, and if they would have had the proper cadence, this is what kills me. This is the opportunity that was missed, because there's so much to play right now. Yeah. And now they're kind of like, I am gonna play. I am going to, because my thing is, I purposely did not beat Legendary for the waiting of the campaign co-op to launch. Right. And now that it's here, the homies, I was like, yo, you see the thing? Like, okay, let's grab up 4. We will do it. We'll probably try to jump in there this weekend. Shout out to Sinister, shout out to Kai, Valakhan. We'll probably get that going. And Forge looks cool. Like, it really does. We had the ray gun on. He started talking about the creativity, the sheer things that you can do. It's one of the most ambitious, robust. Like, this thing looks amazing. It's just the timing now.
Right.
Who's really going to stop playing, Ragnarok, and who's going to, like you said, Plague Tale, Persona. I see people playing Persona right now. Modern Warfare is rocking and rolling. Next week, we've got major releases. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, damn, it could get lost to the zeitgeist, and it's unfortunate. But look, I am going to play it. Probably next Duke, I'll try to give some impressions of it and see what's up. But yeah, my feelings exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, man. News item. This is the hot one, man. This is one where I'm like, okay, Maddie would have definitely had interesting things he had to say based on his thoughts of Bethesda overall. But yeah, Mick Gordon calls out Marty Stratton, the Doom director, ID Software, and Bethesda in a scathing and lengthy piece on Medium. Can't read off. We'd be here all day if I even attempted it. Yeah. First off, did you get a chance, to check it out? And just what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Because it really feels like, obviously the Doom director made a statement about Mick Gordon and his contributions to the soundtrack and his account of the situation. And, for the most part, I felt, not too disrespectful or whatever, but that was one take. And I was kind of like, okay, I see where he's coming from. And then we had Mick's response. And just for context, before I give it to you, Mick was extremely detailed on how he felt what Marty was saying was incorrect and not factual, right, about his contribution. So look, I'm going to stop rambling. I want you to tell me, what are your thoughts on this, man? This soundtrack situation and him going at the, the Doom director.
Yeah.
ID Software.
Well, first I'll say that, yeah, this is a great piece to read. Not in the, it doesn't make me feel nice, but this is the way you should do things, in my opinion. Again, I am the nuance guy. I'm going to say, like, we only know what we've heard from 2 different sides. So, with all of that said, I'm sure when Marty came out with his announcement, his Reddit post, that I was like, Mick Gordon, come on, get your shit together. I'm sure that's what I was saying. I don't remember, but I'm sure it is. And now I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Maybe I should have waited for the whole story. And so I tend to be that guy who waits to hear the final piece. But I will say, if you haven't read this yet, take some time to. If you don't have time or you don't want to read the entire thing, there's some recaps and summaries out there that you should at least, try to check out. It's a good look at how, some parts of the industry work, unfortunately. With all that said, Mick's statements, the way he put it out with detailing everything line by line, with putting dates on everything, attaching some screenshots, attaching, other corroborative sources and everything too. I'm not saying everything he says is gospel. There's 3 sides, his side, her side, in the middle, right? The truth. But this seems pretty damning for Marty Stratton, that Mick Gordon not only waited 2 years after this thing was over, details attempts he tried to make to get things rectified, but then has line by line details of facts and things that happened and when they happened. yeah, there's probably some nuance in there how he says it. Yeah, there's probably some wording that was used in convenient ways. I'm not going to say that, again, that everything he says is gospel. But if this is the way that Marty Stratton and id and their team was operating under these kinds of timelines, if what Mick is saying, that the statements they made were, some of them untruthful, some of them outright lies and slanderous, my God, like, that's awful. Just absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, I'll jump in. This was something. I mean, I think for me, coming into it, I don't have a lot of experience. One thing, it's funny because it really resonated with me because I really have an appreciation for game music. Mm-hmm. And I'm the guy that, like, I'm such a Destiny fanboy. So I'm the guy, I think, shout out to, obviously, Mario O'Donnell, the OGs, you know what I'm saying? But even now, like Sky Lewin, all those guys that work on the Destiny soundtracks, every expansion, I think this is God tier level orchestra music. Like, this is amazing. So when I hear about it, I'm always defending these guys. Like, they don't get the credit they deserve, like, kind of thing. And I feel like, you should get nominated more. But anyway, moving on to this situation with Marty and Mick. And I read Marty's account of how he envisioned, and I'm just paraphrasing, like, the vibe I got was that he painted Mick as someone who is a bit hard to deal with on occasion. Like, he claimed to respect him, but when it comes to Doom's Eternal soundtrack and the edits and the things, the picture he painted was, I respect him, he's a great creative, but he takes very long to get back to us, and he's unresponsive, and we were trying, and then the thing that I found interesting while I was reading his account, though, I will say this, Ben, is that I'm like, for someone who is this hard to deal with, you see that you're making all these concessions. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, even to the point of, like, deadlines not met, and, well, okay, we'll extend you here, and he painted this picture as the most amicable, we're gonna try to work this out kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna lie, like, if I just read that account in a silo, I'm like, Mick's kind of, Gordon ain't kind of maybe the most professional dude, right? Like, he's not making his, I'm all about deliverables. I'm like, if you're not making your deliverables on time, and these guys are accommodating you, the studio's doing all this to bend over backwards for the OST. And it was crazy. This means so much to me because I'm such an OST guy. I'm the guy that buys these things. I'm the guy in the gym. What's this? Oh, this is my favorite game. I want to support. I want to rock out, do some sets, do some
screenshots. I've seen you take the pictures of your screen when you're playing the music at the gym. Yeah, absolutely.
Bro, it means so much to me because gaming music, it takes me exactly to that place, to that boss encounter, to that fight, and it's a motivator. You remember what you were doing, how you struggled, or whatever, and it's emotional. So that gets me through. So this really resonated. Obviously, I played Doom Eternal, and it's a great game, what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I wasn't like a hardcore Doom guy, but I love these games, their takes on it, right? So then we get to Mexico. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I looked at how long this is going. I'm like, man, this is pretty long. All right, let's start it. And I felt it was so eloquently written, like you said, point by point, systematic breakdown and counters. Not only counters, Ben, this man had the most elaborate receipts. Not only did they lie about this person that they brought in, they about how they were going to construct it. It was done so poorly in respect of musical quality. And then, what part? Did you see the part about the file types? And he had the timestamps on when those were actually created in total contrast to what Marty was saying and when it happened. But the thing that really hurt me, and I felt for him, I read his account. Look, and like you said, we don't have all the full truth. We can only go by what both are saying. But the thing that resonated to me, and shout out to the cops because they're upset too, but the thing that resonated to me was just that he basically did so much unpaid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do this with the hope, okay, you know what? And, like, I don't want to say corporate bullying, but he would always answer whenever he felt frustrated without getting a lack of response on pay or just clarity on things. He always answered in a thing like, well, if I don't do this, they have more power over me legally to do this and he always would think in that mindset and then acquiesce,
right,
and keep working, and keep crunching, right. That part really sat with me. And it was just like, then I learned, according to him, about, never do anything without a contract in place, just the idea of the business. And, look, the receipts, it was so much to it, man. And I'm just like, I would find it hard to believe that the majority of this is not true based on his account. Right. Yeah. And I'm trying to be objective here. I really am. Like, I don't want to, come at ID crazy. But I thought what was interesting is he only got action and movement once he went to the top at Bethesda. I was curious about what you felt about that and what you felt about the Reddit post that Marty had up, really, kind of besmirching his name, and he's asking for it to be taken down as part of the negotiation. Because let's be clear, this man is working to get his name restored, right? Because he felt like a great injustice is done to him, and part of the negotiations is like, hey, please take the post down, and then we can continue. And that seemed to be a point of contention. I'm just curious about those little aspects of what you felt about that.
I think that as far as the Reddit post, I'll go there first. I understand the desire, because let's say someone doesn't know who Mick Gordon is and they Google his name. Reddit is a search engine powerhouse. It's a good thing. A lot of times when I have a problem with my fridge and I want to find out somebody who has the same exact part, I search for the part. The first 10 results are Reddit posts most of the time. So Reddit is a search engine powerhouse. And so somebody's just looking for Mick Gordon. They Google his name. They're going to find all this stuff about how shitty of a employee or a contractor he is. So I understand his desire to have that taken down. I also understand, even though I don't agree with Marty and Id's position, to leave it up, because if you take it down, that makes us look even worse. Well, as Mick states in his Medium article, how does it make him look that it stays up? It's somebody shooting somebody else in the foot, no matter what. I mean, not to bring up old wounds or anything, but if you Google Colin Moriarty's name, right, our boss or my boss, and whatever,
salute.
If you search his name, one of the first articles that pops up, the headline is just factually untrue. You can debate what you want about what's inside of the article, that's fine. The headline is just wrong. And so to have that kind of damage on a search engine for somebody who's constantly looking for contractor work, that's rough. I understand his insistence on it. And I understand too, asking for it to be taken down is like a symbol of good faith, right? If you're willing to take it down on your own, then maybe you're willing to negotiate about something. You're willing to give a little bit of leeway. We see that that's clearly wasn't the case with Marty, that he wasn't willing to do that, or at least the lawyers told him not to do that one way or another. But the other thing is, you said about he didn't get anywhere until he went to the top at Bethesda. And I think it's good that when he did go to Bethesda, he got a little bit more movement there. But I want to be too quick. I don't want to be too quick to blame id, even though they may very well be just as at fault here as anybody else. Because if you hire a guy to be your director on one of your biggest games, you probably trust him a lot. And you're probably taking most of the things they say at face value. The rest of the game, if it's shaping out okay, you're having development issues, but you have that in video games. That's just how the industry works. But if you're the boss at id, and Mick Gordon, some contractor that you've never really had any dealings with necessarily, you just know that you've paid him, you've written him checks before. If he comes to you and says, look, here's the problem, and you go to Marty, who you trust, and you've put your entire franchise in their hands, and you say, what's going on with this? And he goes, guy's a maniac, he's messing all this up, he's trying to accuse me of stuff so he can get out. You're probably going to believe him. And yeah, you should do your due diligence, stuff like that. But I can't necessarily blame the people at id who said, look, we got an industry veteran in Marty here. We're putting him in charge. We're going to just go with what he says. So I don't want to cast too much on anybody, but what seems to be the offending characters in this story, which... Good
point. No, great point. And I think that's accurate. There's a couple of things that really didn't sit well with me personally. Also, was that
there's a lot of things.
I mean, there's so much. There's so much. Oh, man, like as a creative on a small scale, not to the level that these guys are, I couldn't fathom someone saying to me, "Okay, you need to make this soundtrack, right? We have." No concepts of some of these levels. What is it? 2 levels a month or 2 pieces of music a month for the level. Like, we have no reference piece. The builds are buggy. Like you to sit there and tell someone to make music for stages that don't necessarily exist, or you don't have a theme. That is extremely difficult. I can't imagine working like that. So I can understand, Mick's perspective is like, look, here's my proposal for how we do things, right? My proposal is like, let me start now, right, this earlier period, so I can try to get ahead of it, or at least give me the overall arching theme of where you're going, and then we can edit and pivot. Because let's just say you don't know what's going on, and you're making some, I think one of the accounts like some ambient kind of thing, and then like these are like rock'em sock'em heavy metal let's go type of levels that maybe the level designers may have in mind and the game designer may have in mind, but it hasn't been made in fruition to have a build for the art, for the musicians, to composers to actually have reference to. Right. And I think that's a big deal, right? The other thing that I thought was interesting was the I don't want to call it stealing, but the policy of submitting a whole bunch of music under the, you don't know what's going to be used. And I get it. Legally, contractually, it owns that and they could do what they want. But the way Mick explained it, again, if his side comes out to be true, is that then these things that were rejected end up being part of the overall thing, and then you don't get paid for these extra submittals that you've done.
Right.
So
right.
That just, man, if that's true, that really looks bad. And it paints a light on the industry if these practices have been going on. And I think that's what I got out of this. Like, I like to see the stories of the people that don't get the credit. Because let's be honest, it's usually studio lead designer, game designer, producer, as far as spotlight on the game, the head of the studio, that kind of stuff. The art guys here and there may get, a graphics artist may gets a little shine here and there. I feel like the musicians, the voice act, they don't get much shine in terms of the public. When a finished game is released, it's very rare. We have a few that I think people know, like people know, specific artists and specific composers, but for the most part, gamers don't know. So This is the part of the industry that I'm like, if all of this is true and this is the fight behind the scenes for these type of creatives, we need to make some changes. And I think the last part I'll say is that, he seemed hopeful when obviously Microsoft acquired, ZeniMax and Bethesda, and he kind of felt like, Marty's energy kind of changed a little bit, towards the end. But there's so much of this. I highly encourage people to read it. It is a long read. Yeah. But it was entertaining. I'm going to give it to you for final thoughts here on this whole situation.
Yeah, look, there's no way to fix this at this point. I mean, I suppose if it or Marty came out and said, look, we were 100% wrong, or we were 90% wrong, whatever, I suppose then there could be some redemption there, and that Mick will get some more gigs in the industry. And of course, there are going to be people who read his story and have had similar experiences and are sympathetic and stuff like that. But his reputation is damaged because the original story never gets as much traction as the retraction, right? And so in this case, even if it's not 100% accurate, it's got to be at least partially accurate, right? And so we assume that, everything we read or thought before about Mick is not true. And so that really sucks. I don't know how else to say that other than to say, it sucks that it's going to be more difficult for him to get work in the future. The other thing I wanted to say is you talked about how they used work from him. I understand too, like if he makes work and they reject it, that doesn't mean he can just go and pitch it to another developer for their game. I get it. And he knows that. That's part of the contract, whatever. But for them to then, I think the thing about it was they then turned around and did actually use it, even though they told him it was rejected and did not pay him for it. That's where the key comes in, that not only did they waste his time by telling him it wasn't being used, they used it and then didn't pay him for it.
And to jump in, and to me, I thought it was quite interesting when lawyers now get involved and Mick now lawyers up. he had to have a strong enough case for them to want to acquiesce to do that. The sticking point just became about the post and accountability. And I think Marty's, at least from the way it was presented by Mick, he cared more about the optics of that post coming down as opposed to, hey, we're going to give you a 6-figure settlement to don't speak about this. If you're not in the wrong, why are you offering this man this, right? So there's clearly legal ramifications that they had to stand on. And the other part I forgot to mention is just that, as a person who's a fan of video game music, like I remember, I'll give Tekken as close as an example I can give because I'm an OST guy. And I remember like, I played Tekken in the arcade, and I remember there was a specific track. It's called, my favorite fighter is called Harag. He's a kickboxer, taekwondo guy. And this thing has one of the meanest guitar riffs, bro. Like, this thing, people who know that Harang music, when that thing starts, you're ready to kill something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And, like, I remember getting it, I bought the PlayStation soundtrack. I'm like, wait a minute. This is like an arranged version of it. Mm-hmm. This is not what I heard in the arcade, right? And then luckily they had like an expanded OST version, and it had PlayStation 2, version of it, and now arcade or OST, right? So I understand the intricacies a little bit with that. And to me, what hurts me is what happens to the Doom fan. Because if you're a fan of Doom and these tracks, and you listen, and the way he was describing it was like these abrupt cuts. I mean, you do editing, you do audio, like you understand like when something is presented, like you're given like, steak on paper plates and like you're not presenting it right. And it's just very rough. And I just wanted your thoughts on that too, because I know, obviously, I hate to put your business out. Like you're one of the technicians behind the scene at Last Stand. You make us sound good. You understand the intricacies when I mess up and you're like, Cog, you did this and your audio is bad. Like, what it is. And we appreciate you for that. I always wanted to tell you like publicly, we appreciate you. I've never been at another outlet that has the attention to detail as LSM. I'll be first to say that. I look at us like, well, we got to get to the IOP. We got to get to that. Like, that's God tier. So what do you feel about the fans, missing out on these tracks at the highest quality?
I think it's a shame, obviously, that, consumers didn't get the highest end product, or at least the product that they thought they were going to get. And it is entirely different for people who aren't aware. Like when you're playing a game, the music you're hearing is not just like a continuous song that goes on and on. They're generally, and Mick actually, kind of spells this out in his article, that you're working on like, a lot of times you might have like a 30-second riff, and then they might either like redo that, let's say, and you're taking a little while to get through a boss fight. That same riff may repeat over and over and over. But then once you make a certain action, another riff kicks in and it's supposed to meld with it. And so the way that the OST gets composed is they actually have to take that music and then expand on it. They have to create the full song for the soundtrack. It's not just, they can't just rip the music out of the game and use that. The problem is that because of all sorts of other weird details, and I don't know what they were doing behind the scenes, they had somebody else working on the OST while Mick was supposed to be working on it. And the way they were working on it, and I can't remember the individual's name, and it's not important, but the way they were working on it...
Cody or something, maybe. I forget.
Maybe, yeah. I don't recall for sure. But the way they were working on it was they were basically just taking those clips from the game that aren't supposed to just be one song. They're supposed to be a dynamic flow of things. And they were just taking those and copy and pasting them in. You had, like you said, you had big jumps, you have differences in volume, you have things that just don't go together. And so I will be the first to admit, I did not listen to the Doom Eternal soundtrack, not because I didn't want, or the OST, not because I didn't want to. I guess it is because I didn't want to, or else I would have. But I didn't listen to it. I haven't heard it. So I don't know the quality of it or anything. But the way that Mick, who is a professional who makes amazing music, no matter what you think of Mick, he makes amazing music. The way he describes it is just absolutely unacceptable for a consumer product that they charged premium money for. And I mean, I kind of feel for the guy, I think. I don't know the details, but the guy who was putting it together, because for all we know, he was being told, like, you got to put this together or you lose your job. And he's just doing the best he can. I don't know. Could be a totally different situation, but I don't know that I necessarily blame them as much as I blame the inaccuracies in the way that they were working with Mick, and that he wasn't able to craft it and he wasn't able to put it into a time. And of course, I blame the theft of the art, of them just pulling pieces of the game soundtrack, of the actual music for the game, and stitching it together in an unprofessional manner. Like, it's just not okay. And it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I'm not a collector's edition guy normally. I've bought a couple in my life, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence to buy another, let's say, id Software collector's edition or something like that. You know, I don't,
Yeah, and the whole thing about deliverables and attaching his name to, if you pre-order, you'll get the Mick Gordon version of this, that, the third, which puts a lot of social pressure. Look, one thing I'm hoping that'll come out is, first of all, again, I'm trying to be as objective as possible because, obviously we'll see if there's a response to the response, right? You know, that kind of thing, and if there's more receipts that come out. But, it definitely goes to show you about a side of the industry that, there's a lot that needs work. There's a lot that needs fixing. Getting paid, contracts, clear vision, strategy. And what I'm hoping comes out of this is, one, people in this position can get better treatment, better wages, and no one should be put in a position where, I know crunch is the evil word to talk about these days, but no one should be put in that position where they feel like they have to no life something. And it's an unfortunate situation overall. We'll see how this thing plays out. Obviously, we will cover this. Meant a lot to Matty. I'm dying to know what he has to say when he comes back, because this is, Bethesda, and he feels very strongly, and I'm hoping to see what Microsoft does on this. Go ahead, Ben.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Is Microsoft at this point, do they have to step in? Because, as far as I know, they're completely unaware of any of this. This happened pre-acquisition. At this point, does Phil need to make a statement? If there's a statement to be made, you have to assume that any statement that's not directly from Marty Stratton's mouth is got to go through Microsoft at this point, and they got a lot more word doctors than anybody else. So I don't know. I wonder what happens if they end up having to step in and come to arrangements. I also wonder if, I didn't see that he probably would have detailed if so, but I wonder if Mick ever had any interactions with Microsoft themselves.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that, because all I could go by is the social media reaction to his Twitter post. And I'm looking at the names that's responding, and these are extremely respected names. I see Seamus Blackley, the father of Xbox, say, "Hey, Mick, this was awful what you went through. And, we appreciate your story." So he's gaining public support is what I'm feeling right now. And I'm curious, again, if a counter statement comes out. But yeah, I think to your point, Microsoft may have to. They may have no choice, because this is gaining traction. Right. And to Mick's credit, his name was besmirched for a long time because of this Reddit post. So if it is true and everything that he's saying is exactly how it is, he's coming out now, turning this thing around on a narrative that may have been painted negatively against him. So we'll see how it plays out, but a good story here. Moving on, I got my N7 shirt on. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Mass Effect 5 is receiving some pretty juicy teasers thanks to the recent N7 day that has just passed. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but it was like a cryptic message, a little audio going on, and the Mass Effect community is in a frenzy. I'll jump in because I'm a Mass Effect fanboy. Basically, the voice that is heard, it's Liara Tassoni, and she's talking about, the Citadel's not going to approve of this. Some action. And while you hear her talk, you hear Geth noise in the back, so we assume that Geth will be involved again. Liara is obviously part of the Asari race. Their lifespan is extremely long, so it would make sense she would still exist in this time period, way past the events of Mass Effect 3 and Andromeda. It's pretty exciting. Also, not too much of a spoiler. Well, actually, it's not even a spoiler because actually in the post they say her titles, what she is, and it says Shadow Broker. And she, as the Shadow Broker, that's the person that has all the information in the galaxy. She's got all these contacts. So I was a bit excited, man. I'm a huge Mass Effect fanboy. Obviously, at the last LSM, it was, one of the greatest games of all time, kind of thing. And I was glad to spread the good word of Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to really talk to you specifically about it. Mass Effect is a series. Are you excited with Mass Effect 5? Are you concerned? And, just where you at with this kind of N7 news that kind of dropped out?
I need to kind of like put my hand over your face right now because I don't want to see the disappointment that's about to happen. Cog, I never played Mass Effect.
We gotta stop the show.
What? Okay, here's the thing. I've always wanted to. I don't remember the circumstances surrounding it, but at the time the first one, actually I think it was the second one because I never even heard of the first one when it first came out. But by the time the second one came out, I had heard of it. And at that point I was like, well, I want to play it. And I don't remember the circumstances. I was in college probably, I think, at the time. I never got to it. And then all of these years have passed, and I think, I'll play that. Cog, I have Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 on disc in my shelf. Wow. I have them. I own them. I haven't played them. The Mass Effect trilogy came out and is available for me to play on Game Pass. I haven't made the time. I know they're big investments. I mean, not that I don't spend a lot of time on other games, but they're big investments. So with that said, Cog, I am not a good source to talk about my excitement for Mass Effect because I feel like I would be a giant sham if I talked about excitement for Mass Effect 5. What I will say is that it seems like the industry is very positive after, again, I was on the outside looking in. Andromeda looked like a mess from the outside. And I know people say it's gotten better and they improved a lot of things, but I'm happy from an industry standpoint to see that people are excited about the next iteration after the last iteration was not as good. At least in some people's opinion.
No, I respect that.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I didn't mean
that. I gotta give.
Can we? Are we gonna keep the bromance? Or is it?
We right now. You gotta take me out. Then there's some.
All right.
We had that little that fight, and we gotta have to make up.
Okay.
Because right now, I'm like the bromance. This is my bro. I can't. I'm actually shocked. You know what? Credit to you to avoiding. Like, those were huge zeitgeist times. So credit to you to be able to, and to your credit, I have games like that. I cannot talk. There are games like that people like, Cog, you haven't played, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I know, I missed out. So I can't go too crazy.
It's one of the few like landmark series from that era that I never got around to.
Yeah, bro.
And then I thought when the trilogy was coming out, I was like, oh, now's my chance. And then that was 2 years ago at this point almost, so.
Yeah, you got to, man. It's the space. I mean, provided you enjoy, sci-fi, space opera, character choice, stuff like that. And I mean, it was just, man, Mass Effect is something. And much as I give Mass Effect 1 some little slander because I'm a Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 1 it set the table, man. Yeah. It was really, really ambitious. And I would highly recommend if you get a chance to really get through it. But I mean, for us, cautiously optimistic. I'm hype. Obviously, the thing that really got them going was the trilogy and the resurgence there. But I want to get into Andrew M's question, which is my fine Dukes. Been a while since I've written in, but I've always been happily watching. And I can't wait to see y'all in person in Houston. Just a short 6-hour drive. Short, damn. From where I live. Anyway, today as I'm writing in is N7 Day, the special holiday for the Mass Effect universe. I'm sitting here crying, watching a panel reunion of the cast from the trilogy. What do you guys think is the future of Mass Effect? Can BioWare please just stop wasting time on Dragon Age, which really hasn't been fantastic since the first game, and instead work on Mass Effect, which is what we need more of? Best regards, Andrew M. So I'll jump in on this one.
Yeah.
Look, the future, I think they realized after the Andromeda fiasco, that the Shepard and the Milky Way universe gameplay and that those arcs and storylines are really what fans want to see. The fact that Legendary Edition really had the resurgence that it had shows how much people miss this game and this series in that direction, right? Andromeda, besides it being a technical mess, in my opinion, there were things about the gameplay as far as like combat and going and traversing planets I thought were better and improved on the series. But as far as the actual character choice, I just didn't feel the agency. I didn't feel the connection to the writers. There's basically kind of like twins, brother, sister kind of thing. And, to his question about Dragon Age, I think, look, I like Dragon Age. Maddie's going to probably kill me for this, but it ain't no Mass Effect. You know what I'm saying? And I like Dragon Age. Dragon Age is cool, play a lot of them, finish Inquisition, looking forward for the next one. But I think Mass Effect is the cash cow. That's the big one, and I think I'm getting a little bit more confident. I was very hesitant when I started to hear the news, but I like the way they're handling some of the reveals, and I think they know they have to nail it. And to me, the biggest thing, I know it's a technical thing, but I love that they went back to Unreal Engine. To this day, if you play the older games, Ben, like seeing it kind of brought up to next gen levels on the old Unreal Engine 3, I believe it was.
Yeah,
I'm like, this game still looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, this thing holds up, right? And Addict was in your position that, he's a young guy. He never played anything. He just heard us blow VA. He's like, you guys talk about this thing like it's so. I'm the young guy. I'm going to tell you. And I asked him, I said, objectively, because I needed to know. I haven't played those games in so long. And I said, Addict, you're a younger guy. These games are near and dear to me, and I want to make sure how my bias is, if I look at it with rose-tinted glasses. And he's like, no, COG. This is amazing. He said, I've never played a game like this.
Yeah.
He was like, how did they do it? Like, he was so into it. And actually, he has the contrarian opinion, because it's usually the Mass Effect 1 fanboys versus the Mass Effect 2 fanboys. Everyone loves 3 but hates the ending, right, so to speak. He said, no, I love 3. He's like, 3 is the best. He's like, I was like, what about the ending? He was like, I didn't feel it was, as bad as people were making it out to seem. So he has 3 as his best Mass Effect game. And yeah, it's interesting to see. So I think, look, I'm very optimistic. I think that it's all hands on deck, and I like I like the way they're handling it so far. So
yeah, good.
That's where I'm at. But no doubt.
Even if it's not a series I'm into, I just like seeing industry moving things, like things that the industry is excited about. So I'm excited for you, Kyle.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll go play the damn game.
I will eventually. I will
when you get time.
Eventually.
When you get time. Yeah. I would love to get your opinion on that. Seriously, I would love. I love when people who haven't played it and then see it like, oh, you guys overrated it or not. Yeah. But we gonna move on. Some more news items. Shout out to Matt Booty. Sat down and interviewed with Friends Per Second podcast, where they went over things such as Halo Infinite's launch, Starfield's ambition, the initiative's partnership with Crystal Dynamics, as well as both Fable and InXile's progress. There's a lot to unpack here. I don't know if you got a chance to read it. I think when Halo Infinite's launch, he used a reference of like, the classic runner that stumbles at the finish line. I think with Starfield's ambition, the quotes were kind of like, that it's not just a Elder Scrolls in space kind of thing, right?
Right.
And that was one of the quotes there. And then the initiative partnership with Crystal Dynamics, how it's kind of like a co-development kind of a situation. And I think in InXile's project, if I remember, it was kind of to the point of when they sat down and people, InXile got to present to, Booty and Xbox Brass what they were working out, like they were like blown away, kind of thing. So, I'm just paraphrasing some of these things in these reports. So just, you can start wherever you want. What do you think about Matt's comments on any of these subjects or anything that interests you here?
I'll start with Fable because I'm particularly excited about Fable. And I don't know that I have anything that I've seen, obviously, to be excited about this new Fable because we haven't seen anything. But the series means so much to me. I even liked Fable 3. Okay.
Wow.
I know that's a hot take, but I even liked Fable 3. Okay. But I didn't think it was the best game ever, but it was good. But I'm excited to see that someone like Playground, with the excellence we've seen them with, like Forza, obviously, to see them not only making the game, but to find out, we assume this, but to find out that they've got like a passion for the Fable series, that they want to make this. This wasn't like somebody put this on them and said, you got to make this game. That's unlike the game you're known for. They wanted to make this game. So that's really encouraging to me, first of all. I find the comparison to Halo Infinite's launch being like a runner who trips at the finish line really accurate, I feel like, because that game is so good. Everything about actually playing the game is so good. And it is exactly like the race went really well, but then they got to the finish line and tripped and fell. And maybe they're still going to win. Maybe they're still going to get across that finish line first, but they're in a big stumble right now. So I'm glad they're acknowledging that. This isn't the first time they've acknowledged that they need work on it, obviously. They're really transparent about what's going on over there. But I said earlier, I like things that move the industry, and Halo moves the industry forward, and it moves it. Everybody talks about it. People talk about it when it's good and when it's bad, right? Especially Halo. So I want Halo to succeed. I want to play it right now. And it's good to know that they're continuing to acknowledge, especially the head of the studios is acknowledging that we messed up. We got to work on this. Yeah. I'll throw it back to you for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, in agreement with pretty much everything you said. I think coming into it, it's interesting. Shout out to First Per Second and Jake and those guys and Skill Up. It's interesting because Matt Booty don't come outside a lot.
I know. Yeah.
He's a rare get. Rare get. So you gotta. And I think a lot of gamers have the misconception that Phil is still doing Matt's role, which is the head of Xbox Game Studios. Right. So Matt is the guy to be technically responsible. Of course, the buck stops with Phil. We know that. But, Booty, I feel like, he's an industry vet. He's been around since the Midway coin-op days and stuff like that. He's an OG. Mm-hmm. And I always like to get his insight when he does speak. And when I looked at this, the things that really stood out to me, I want to comment on Fable as well, because the Fable and the Playground relationship I thought was interesting. I remember when we first went down, I was like, I don't know, like the car racing guys. I get that they're a UK studio though, right? And I was a little hesitant at first, but then to hear them talk about how much they're excited about actual Fable and the IP, that means a lot. Second, we're not gonna act like Playground ain't. The graphical fidelity of the games ain't really spectacular, And then the other thing is, remember, we just recently heard about the Embracer Group situation with the Square Enix and Square Montreal, and then they come to find out that there's a studio working directly with Fable, and I was just like, wow, that's kind of unique. Like outside of Xbox Game Studios is helping out, and to me, I looked at it as a good sign because I'm like, that's like an all hands on deck. We want the best of the best, and people are passionate working on it. So that actually gave me a little bit more confidence about Fable. InXile, Matty knows, like me and him both talk about, they are a dark horse. Wasteland 3 is an excellent turn-based RPG with choice and story. It is so well done. And to see them do that, in constraint of budget and things, that I am so interested in what they have cooking. To hear him say how excited they were when they saw what they had to show. And I don't know, InXile, if you see them, they're active on Twitter. They are like celebrating other people. They're doing a whole bunch of things. They kind of have their finger on the pulse of a lot of things. That's from the outside looking in. And to also go back to Fable, I remember when I was at PAX West recently, and Booty was on stage on a panel talking about managing Xbox Game Studios. He mentioned that he's looking at what they showed for Fable at this current stage, and he's wowed. And he's like, let's put up a trailer, let's show. And they're like, nope, give us our time when it's ready. Like, they're pumping the brakes on him because they want, so that gave me even more confidence. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the biggest Fable guy, but I understand the importance to the Xbox ecosystem and the type of game it is, and retaining that British humor, the little wackiness, the farting, the chickens, and all of those stuff. Like, it's just certain things. So they got to nail that. I'm getting a little more confident on that. Starfield, what he said about the team over there and, how they're taking it. It's extremely different. It's not going to be just a reskin. I think Todd is putting a lot of pressure, on himself and that team to launch it because, people forget Todd has been kind of in that team. They've been working on Elder Scrolls games and Fallout games.
Yeah.
So this is like really a new IP, like completely in the sense of something different, right? And I think that is something that we kind of miss out. And I'm looking forward to it to see what it is. But overall, I thought this was a great interview. I learned a lot about what's going on. Obviously, the Halo Infinite, I've talked that noise about. It's the perfect analogy. We know what the issue is. The core game is great. They did not have the sustainability of content post-launch. The wart started to show. We know the story, right? And now they're doing the comeback there. So, at least attempting to come back there. So we'll see. I thought this is cool. I like to hear more from Matt and more about Xbox Game Studios and what's going on in the building. So, yeah, I was overall cool with this. Most of the stuff here, nothing goes crazy.
I'm also excited about Fable because I was told that some people from another UK studio went over to Playground and to help on some of the stuff. And I don't know if that was actual technical help or if that was come give us a look at this because you're close and we're in the same family and we can check it out. And they were really impressed with what they saw. And so knowing that other studios I respect have seen the work they're doing and appreciate it is just as encouraging to me as hearing that they're excited about making it. So I'm excited for that, and I appreciate Booty's transparentness, I guess you could say.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking more about the Matt Booty interview, shout out to Dylan. He said, hello, fellas. Recently, the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, did an interview with the FPS, the Frames Per Second podcast. There were a bunch of great tidbits. Well, one I found most interesting was about InXile Entertainment. Booty said that they had all Xbox studio heads together, and InXile showed a vertical slice of their next game, and everyone was blown away, stating that what they are creating as a ratio to how many people are working on it was amazing. Do you think this will be NXIle's big breakout game? And where do you think they will unveil it? Thanks as always, and have an A1 day. What do you think about this, the NXIle stuff?
I think it's good because I'm not, I don't have the experience with NXIle that you do. I've played their games before. But I'm not, I'm not rah-rah. They're all we're about. I don't have anything against them. I'm not as hot on them as you are. But to hear that it's the other developers were blown away, like I just said about Fable with Rare and Playground, that's encouraging because I feel like the people who make games are going to be the best critics of other games. I mean, maybe not because a lot of them put out stinkers. I'm not saying these studios, but a lot of developers put out stinkers and they think it's a great game when they put it out. But I think the key part here that they said was the ratio to how many people who were working on it and the scope of whatever it is encouraging. I hope that doesn't mean it's too big. I hope that doesn't mean it's got too much going for it. That's, there's more margin for error there. But I think the NXIle has done solid work and they've been very respected, obviously, for many years. And I think that it's about time they become, when we talk about the big studios, when we talk about the people who are making the games we love, NXIle needs to be on the tip of more of our tongues, including myself. Like they don't miss very often. And when they do, they usually fix it pretty quickly. So I would say this is an encouragement. He says have an A1 day. As long as that's not referring to the A1 steak sauce, I'm okay with it. I'm not a steak sauce guy. But other than that, I appreciate the writing.
My boy, shout out to my boy Bontis for the Last Word podcast, my co-host. He would be smiling so loud when he watches Defining Duke, and he kills me if I put A1 on it. And he's like, "Cock, how dare you?" Yeah. He's like, if you had to put A1 on something, it ain't a good steak.
How do you have your steaks, Cock? How do you like?
Oh, y'all gonna judge me now?
I'm gonna do it.
I'm a medium well guy.
Okay, that's not as bad as it could have been. I'm more of a medium rare guy, but if you say medium before it, if you say medium in the thing, it's fine.
I'm good. Okay, if I'd have been like, I'm a well done.
If you said well done, I just click end, leave session.
How's that tire rubber in a jean? I remember when I didn't know nothing about steak and I first had, I thought that was what you were supposed to say, and I was like, this is not good. I learned the difference quickly, so it's funny. But shout out to Ebon to see if he's listening. But yeah, to the NXIle question, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Like, they are so criminally underrated. And to me, like, I put them in like Baby Obsidian. Like, what I'm excited at the prospects of them with a budget and vision and creative control. I'm excited to see what they do. To see people in the room blown away. To see people talk about they're excited based on the ratio of people working on it, to me gives me the impression of punching above your weight. You like only like this amount made it, that kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. And then, the project that they're working on is, I believe it's Project Cobalt. Shout out to Windows Central's own Jess Gordon, who broke the story. And kind of like steampunk setting, first person shooter, futuristic robots, dark Victorian kind of thing, vibes and stuff like that. Sounds pretty cool. I'm curious to see where they go with that. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I'm dying to see what the graphical fidelity is going to look like. That's my main thing too with them. I think, not to, make it a fanboy thing, but I do feel that like Xbox needs to show games that really showcase the power of the console. And outside of like, shout out to Coalition, High Busters. I give them their props. Gears is a beautiful game. Shout out to Playground, amazing racing. I just want to see more from the other studios that you go, whoa, this thing's a looker. Like this is, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm excited for that. We'll see what's going on. We got more on the interview. Shout out to Dark Rod 99. Hey Dukes, in the Matt Booty interview in the Friends Per Second podcast, Matt has talked about the progress was inside the collaboration between Undead Labs and the Coalition. Given the description that he did, it looks like State of Decay 3 will be a step up from the previous game. What are you looking for in the sequel? What does this game need to be for smashing success for Xbox? And do you think it will release by the end of 2023? Have a watching the Gears movie / series announcement with excitement, but then remembering how the Halo series went kind of day. Shout out to Dark Rod. So what you thinking about, man? Undead Labs, you're a State of Decay guy, and if not, or if so, you're looking forward to the sequel, and what do you feel about all this news?
Yeah, I like State of Decay. I don't know that I'm a huge fan, but I do like the series so far, at least. I didn't finish State of Decay 2, just to be transparent, but that wasn't because it wasn't good. It was because I don't know, some other reason, probably. But to his question about whether it's going to be, I think I believe what they're saying, that it's shaping up well, that it's going well. Whether or not we'll see by the end of 2023, I mean, so State of Decay, the first one came out in 2013, 2012, 2013. The other one the second one came out in 2018. That's 5 years, 6 years. I think by the end of 2023 is possible, unless like early on in development would have been during the height of like work from home COVID stuff. So I think that I wouldn't necessarily expect it by the end of next year, because especially with talking about how ambitious the project is. And I think that they've got the money behind them, right? They've got the support. They've got a franchise they need to support at this point. It's not just another game, it's the third game in the series, which is always really important to nail, to make it a real series, I think, at that point. So I think that we could see it by the end of 2023. The fact that every game gets a delay now and we didn't see it announced for the first half of the year means I feel like it's unlikely, even if it gets announced for the second half of the year, that it's unlikely it actually comes out. But I don't know. I'm not a big rumor and speculation guy. If there's, a lot of times if there's concrete facts in front of me, Maddie and I are like the antithesis on that. Like he wants, like somebody shares a screenshot and he all of a sudden like develops a whole new world. And I'm like, okay, we'll find out more about it when we find out more about it. I don't know. But I think that, Undead Labs does good work. And again, I trust that when other developers, when they're actually showcasing what other developers say and think about games, they're not taking their vertical slices to other developers that they take to these trade shows. They're not going in and showing them the E3 demo. They're taking in, hey, you guys have the same kind of mindset as we do. Here's what we have. How's it look? And for them to say positive things about something that's probably not like highly refined and polished for the public is good. That's a good sign to me, I think. I think you kind of have to look at the context of how these things are seen differently than how the consumer sees them to really kind of get an eye on how they're shaping up. And so, yeah, hopefully it's good. I don't know what I want from a sequel. I mean, there's a lot of mobs. The games in the past are, they've got that little bit of, I don't know about open world, but open world jank, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And, the horror genre, I feel like for it really to be a more horror style game, they got to nail that jank a little more, because you kind of want it to be a little bit scary, and when there's a little bit of that jilted walking and stuff, it's hard to really be scared. But I'm hopeful.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Got a little bit of insight here. That's why
Yeah.
So I can get into a little bit of the speculation bag. Your antithesis. Look,
I'm not anti-speculation. I just don't do it. Yeah.
No, I get it, and I totally respect that. This is interesting because Matt talks about the collaboration with the coalition. That really excites me because two things. One, we saw the trailer. Last time we saw State of Decay 3, which kind of like that, the sizzle teaser trailer, vertical slice, yada, 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 right? But the thing that I thought was interesting, I'm like, man, that looked really good for what your conceptual thing of this game is going to be. And we all know the history of State of Decay, which is it's a great systems game, great base building management. You're kind of like Walking Dead, kind of survivors, permadeath, all that kind of thing. And there's player agency there, but it never was a looker. Right, it was always this lovable Jake game kind of thing, and from the first one and then to the second one with the multiplayer, and then obviously it's close to me because I've had the directors on Ion's podcast when it dropped, and one of the things that frustrated me was kind of like the tethering system. All four of you have to stay within this radius and you can't go out. So they talked about the technical limitations, and at that time they just got acquired. So State of Decay 2 wasn't under the resources yet, right? They just made the deal. Since then, there's been turmoil at the studio. There's been change. Jeff Strain, who I met, and those guys, a lot of the team is not there anymore. Richard Fogey, a couple of those people that were kind of in director level senior positions have moved on. Now, we can get into the speculation of there's issues at the studio. Jeff made a statement saying that, he kind of put it in good hands because his family was in New Orleans, and, the studio is still based out where it is, and set them up supposedly to succeed. So he was refuting a lot of the reports, which is rare. Usually when people make a story that there is turmoil at a studio, you rarely get someone to be like, well, this is what actually happened and I'm standing on this. So I thought that was interesting that he came out with that. But to fast forward to what's going on now, I think State of Decay has to hit graphically.
Yeah.
I think it really needs to show well. And I think that's the only thing. Like, they could literally have the same game as State of Decay 2, but if they polish it, like you said, also throw the horror aspect, add more things to it to make it scarier. This thing is waiting to be a hit, in my opinion. It just hasn't had the love and attention to detail. So, again, Unreal Engine 5, great sign to me. I'm an Unreal Engine fanboy. I ain't gonna lie. I'm a graphical fidelity dude. To me, Unreal Engine is one of those engines that really showcase well. And then, like you said, Coalition, to me, they don't get enough credit as the standard bearers for graphical fidelity on Xbox. I tell people all the time, when the Xbox Series consoles drop, the people are like, hey, there's nothing to showcase the system. I blame Xbox for not promoting the Hive Busters DLC. The Hive Busters DLC is a graphical showcase. This thing is one of the most amazing looking games. It's short, but man, it really plays well. So Coalition excites me. I'm excited for the future of the series. What am I looking for in the sequel? Yeah, more simulation, man. I want, because it has emergent gameplay. The thing I want is more refined stories for individuals. I want more of a personal connection, because obviously State of Decay as a game is very hard to make a distinct narrative, because it's you make the narrative and it's all these survivors. But I want to care about them. If there's a way to really tell good stories with some of these characters in the backgrounds, that would excite me. I want to know if that. And as far as the release date, I think it's going to be a little farther away, man. I think that 2023 is just way too ambitious for my take. I mean, if I'm being conservative, I would say like end of 2024, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But I think we still got a while before we see it, because I believe internally there was a revamp recently, and I think that sets it back a little. But I need this to be right, so I'm pulling for them. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the State of Decay 3 style. All right, moving on. Activision is reportedly targeting an April 2023 launch, according to the dad of Xbox, Jez Gordon, man. So, what do you feel about this?
Is this this is for Diablo 4, correct?
Yes, Diablo 4.
Okay.
I apologize for not mentioning.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. No, Diablo 4. Yeah, so that's the rumor. I'm sorry. This is the big one.
Yeah.
Diablo 4. You know, what are your thoughts on this? Are you a Diablo guy? And how you feel about it?
When I was in like, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade, my buddy invited me over. You know, we were hanging out, and his dad was a huge PC gaming guy and had been since the very earliest days of real PC gaming, you know. And he had a game. I think Diablo 2 was out by that point, but he had Diablo 1 on his computer. And he and I would we weren't really supposed to play it because we were kids, you know, it's Diablo. And we would sneak in and play Diablo on the PC. And then Diablo 2 was out. I played so much Diablo 2, loved Diablo 2. Diablo 3 came out there were some issues at the beginning, but there was a lot of acclaim for it. Loved it. They redid Diablo 2. I played it, thought, yeah, this is how it's always looked. You know, you hit that little button that toggles so you can see the way it used to look. And I'm like, oh, it looked way different now. So yes, I'm a huge Diablo guy. I'm very excited about Diablo 4. An April 2023 launch window sounds great to me. Again, I am the guy who says if it's not ready, delay it. I don't need a game tomorrow.
Except when it's Starfield. Just joking. Shots.
We already went over this, Cog, all right? Eat a medium rare steak and we'll talk more. I'll play Mass Effect, you eat a medium rare steak, we'll settle in the middle somewhere on Starfield.
Bet.
But no, I'm all about, you know, if it needs more time. But if they're really looking at April 2023, I'm very excited for that. And I think that if this is a game you play by yourself, but it is very geared towards multiplayer as well, is to get grouping up in a party, getting out there. And so not only am I excited about the fact that it could be as soon as April, but I'm excited about if we get this Activision deal through, and this is on Game Pass, how many more people are going to play my beloved Diablo? And how many more people is it going to be easy to convince to group up with me for too many hours and play the game for sure? So the one thing I will say, Cog, is I'm a little worried about monetization. Because
good point.
Most of the big issues with Diablo 3 surrounded the marketplace, the auction house, monetization, you know, essentially. We just had Diablo Immortal. And while I know this is a different game, this is made for PC and consoles, Diablo 4 is, and not for mobile. They've got that money in their blood now. They've got the taste. They've got the taste of them bills in their mouth now. And so I'm a little worried about what's going to go in there with that, because I don't need Diablo totally bastardized and changed into something that it's not supposed to be. Diablo's not, I'll pay you $150. I'll double the price of what you want if I don't have to be constantly bombarded with ads about, you know, buying this or that or having to pay for upgrades or whatever. And I know they've made statements saying that, you know, Diablo 4 is going to be a full game. It's not going to be just full. But I don't trust them. I don't trust anybody.
You've been hurt.
I don't trust anybody. And so I'm a little worried about that. But April 2023, let's go. If you got it ready, let's bring it on. They're supposedly, you know, that's the rumor, is they're doing a beta in February that's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be open or closed, but either way, we'll get some more hands on it. And I think at that point, we'll know what the game's going to look like when it comes out. So I'm excited to jump in with some buddies and kill some demons.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, bro. Like, yeah, good point. Like, this is a big one. I mean, if this target date of April, you know, comes out, or just that proximity, it's going to be huge. And this, again, not to be petty, but this is part of my argument again, that gamers are going to forget. Like, when this hits, Diablo's the type of game, and I'm late to the series, but Diablo's the type of game that when it hits, it's a zeitgeist game. People go absolutely crazy. You know, I came extremely late into the series, like Diablo 3. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, this is really fun. And then you start getting into the gameplay loop and the rifts, and it really is a romp with friends. And then you start challenging yourself. And I'm the guy that I like to min-max. I'm like, hold on, guys, wait. I just got this item here. Let me, like, I'm terrible to play with because I
hold
stop
up the party so you can.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I do that in Destiny. Like, I'm such a build mid-max guy. Those parts of games really excite me, and to try to maximize potential of different, especially different abilities that I like to use and stuff like that, and synergies. Oh man, I go crazy with stuff. So Diablo, it feeds that itch that I have, and it just drives me I love that stuff. So yeah, the game, and it showcased extremely well at the showcase, the Microsoft Bethesda showcase. I was blown away. I'm like, oh man, this is a looker now too.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it looked bad before, but I'm like, I could see, you're jumping on the horseback, you're going. I'm like, oh, let's go. Like, I am excited. So yeah, this, and to your point, if the Activision Blizzard King deal closes prior to this release, and you could slap Game Pass on this thing, open up a whole audience of people to this game, then people sleeping on the cloud aspect, the PC aspect, all these, integral people now being able to play and cross-play together, most likely. Tremendous. And I think that's a huge boon into an Xbox 2023 kind of a year. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I will say this one last point. Mike Ibarra had a cryptic tweet after this news came out, and it was kind of like, don't believe everything you hear.
Oh yeah.
So I took that as a shot.
Yeah.
I took that as, hey, and Jez, somebody asked Jez, shout out to Jez, it was like, hey, kind of, what do you feel about Mike's tweet? Kind of subliminally going at what you said. He's like, hey, Mike would know more than me, right? And he just go about the reports that he heard right now, and things still could be fluid. Obviously you said there's going to be a beta. This is an important title for them as well. So they have to nail this. If it's within the window, I'm fine. But yeah, I would love it to be part of, the whole Activision Blizzard stuff. So yeah, we will see what goes on. And now we're approaching some fun. The Game Pass pick of the week. My boy Ben, like, what do you got, man? What you got for us?
Well, let's go ahead and read Mike Poe's write-in.
Yes, good point. Let's do that. Greetings, Dukes. Just wanted to submit a Game Pass pick of the week. Honorable mention. Tinykin. Now I see why you did this. This game came out a couple months ago, and I got around to playing it in the last week. It's a lovely little 3D platforming collectathon indie game from a team of about a dozen people, and I absolutely love my time with it. 3D platformers live or die by how fun it is to control the character, and controlling the main character in this game is a joy. Almost immediately, the player is given two great traversal mechanics, a hover ability that you can extend as you progress in the game, and a bar of soap skateboard that allows you to slide around the game's level with ease. There are no enemies. Your only goal is to navigate the levels with tiny Pikmin-like creatures as companions and use them to solve environmental puzzles and side quests in a 1990s house. The game oozes charm in its art and writing and only takes about 8 hours to beat. It's not a particularly hard game, but if any of the Dukes and the Elysium fam love 3D platforms or love the old Pikmin games from Nintendo, this is a must play. Let's go, man.
So I was going into the dock to write in that I was picking Tinykin, and before I could get there, I saw this write-in, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." Because Tinykin, it's a game I played, I don't know, a few months ago, and a couple months ago, I don't know, and I played it. He says it takes about 8 hours to beat. That's probably about right. I played it over the course of 2 or 3 days, a couple different sessions, and it's just so charming. He's right about. First of all, the environment is really fun. You're in a house from the 90s. You've got a lot of callbacks that people of the generation will understand, that will know. A lot of things they'll probably remind you, like, oh, hey, that was in my house when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it definitely oozes that. Like, the set pieces are really cool. The things that are there are reminiscent of a different time. So that's really fun. He's right about the traversal mechanics as well. I mean, immediately you can zip around on your bar of soap or soap board or whatever it is, and get from one place to the next. The timing feels right. The controls are responsive. There's constantly little sounds and little cues, and as you get collectibles and you pick up the Tinykin to help you do your bidding, to do your bidding for you, there's like a responsiveness to the game, that a feedback loop, I guess you could say, that really just triggers something in your brain that it's kind of like, oh, I picked something up. Cool. I got a little vibration in the controller. Perfect. Like that's a lot of fun to me. And I'm really impressed with the game because it kind of went under the radar. I didn't hear much about it before it was coming out. I mean, there was some stuff out there, but and it came out and it got good reviews, but it was kind of minimal fanfare. And I just saw the reason I even checked it out was because I saw some people in the LSM Discord talking about it, and I was like, all right, it's on Game Pass. Yeah, I'll download it. It's worth that. And just fell in love with it. I mean, it's a platformer, and he's right. It's very Pikmin like. That was a lot of the comparisons. There's a lot of stuff about it that's not like Pikmin 2, but I just think that if you have Game Pass at this point, like it's worth just checking out. I love platformers. I will say that the only thing about it that's a little bit frustrating to me,
let's go,
was the collectibles. I got pretty much all the collectibles, and I was planning on like I'm gonna 100% this game. I'm gonna get the 1,000 gamer score, whatever. Until I just realized there's this pollen you collect, and it serves a purpose. But there's this pollen you collect, and at one point I was like, let's say there was 1,000 pollen in this level that you had to collect, or that would get you to the 1,000 gamer score, and I had literally 999, and I spent 2.5 hours in this one stage of the world trying to find that one last piece of pollen, and I couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, I'm not even worrying about the 1,000 gamer score at this point because it's just not worth it. So that kind of drove me crazy as like a little OCD thing. But if you're just going into this game, you want to play a cute little platformer, you need something to fill 6 or 8 hours in your time, it's really good. The story is there. It's got a story.
It's there.
But for me, it wasn't necessarily compelling. You know,
Gotcha.
The compelling part of it was definitely the little bit of puzzle mechanics that it has, the platforming that it has, the versatility and the movement was a lot of fun. So definitely, Mike, I agree with your pick. You thought it was going to be an honorable mention, but it's the actual pick this week. I think it was a lot of fun.
No doubt. Now you guys are selling me on it. You know, I've heard about it. You know, but I mean, you almost got me as an OG game. Once you said 1990s house, now you got my interest.
Yeah.
So I like little stuff like that when you references. It kind of reminds me of what you call it, Guardians of the Galaxy, that had a lot of like old school 80s references and stuff like that. And I like that kind of stuff because I'm like, oh yeah, I had that, you know, that stuff in my house and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, looking forward to checking that out and firing out. Like you said, the beauty of Game Pass is the discoverability, right? Because it's like, I know I would not have found this game or even probably attempt it if it wasn't in it, and to see it in it and to give it a shot, yeah, I'll definitely fire it up and see what's going on.
Yeah, there's almost no chance I would have checked this out if it was just on the store. And I mean, it doesn't look appealing, but like when I played like 10 minutes of it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play the rest of this game for sure.
It's always a beautiful thing. Good to see. Yeah, gotta check it out. Game Pass pick of the week. Shout out to Nevets. Sup, Duke boys. Just joined Patreon, so this is my first time writing in.
Welcome.
I'm very perplexed about the defense I've seen for the Sonic Frontiers cyberspace level. If you're not aware, it seems like there will be around 50 traditional levels, but on only 4 different environments. 3 of those, Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary, have been used in the past 10 years of Sonic games. I am all for reusing animation assets and locations when necessary, but Sonic Team has already been doing this for a decade now. What's even more egregious to me is that some of the level layouts are directly lifted from past Sonic games. My question is, when does asset reuse become too much? Is there a game you can think of where the reuse of animations, levels, dialogue, or any part of the game was just too much for you? I actually thought this is a great question. So I am curious, what do you feel about this? One, about Sonic Frontiers, and 2, about asset reuse.
Well, I can't speak to much specifically to Sonic Frontiers. Unfortunately, Maddie is sick today, so
Yeah, he's the expert.
Yeah, exactly. But as far as asset reuse, like, I understand pretty much every game you're going to play is going to reuse some assets. And I think that's not only necessary, but smart, because as long as you're not overusing them, then they're definitely going to, like, that cuts down on your load times, that cuts down on your development cycles, that cuts down on the cost of the game, everything. So, of course, you need to reuse some assets. But it kills me when you see the same set pieces over and over and over. And it's not like if you have 1,000 set pieces, which is a lot, but if you have 1,000 set pieces and some of them are the same, okay, that's fine. But when games, I'm trying to think of a good example, and maybe you have one, but when games reuse like bosses and just name them something differently and maybe put a different damage on them or different amount of health on them or something like that, that bothers me for sure.
It's going to be a little slanderous after I was just giving a lot of praise, but I feel you on that. And that was one of my criticisms. And Attic, if he's listening, would agree with God of War 1, 2018.
Yeah.
The trolls.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh, okay. It's no troll. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for animation stuff like that. But I did want to point that was mine. But I just want to give it back to you. You just sparked the thought. That was all.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I guess I don't have a whole lot else to elaborate other than just that, at least if you're going to use the same enemy type, I'm fine with that as long as it's not the only enemy in the whole game. But if you're going to use the same enemy, like at least paint them different. At least make them look a little different, especially if they're not going to be exactly the same thing. Like you're talking about the trolls, you've got trolls that are definitely more powerful than others in God of War specifically. And here we go, gonna get shit for talking about a PlayStation game, but
this is not.
But like at least this one's got an orange sash, and make that one have a blue sash. Just something to signify that they're a different kind of character. And again, like the dialogue thing, there are a lot of games that reuse the same dialogue options and lines, and that kind of drives me crazy. I think about a game that you and I both love, The Forgotten City, that came out, and there were I understand that was a really small team. That was essentially a mod project, but there were a lot of times I would talk to a character and I'm like, that's the same thing that guy over there said. So I understand the reasons for it. I understand the need for it even, but I think that if your game's not a huge game, especially if it's a smaller footprint of a game, then putting a little more time into those set pieces makes it feel like a better experience to me. Not set pieces even, just assets specifically. Putting a little more time into those things makes me feel a lot better about it than seeing the same things pop up over and over.
Yeah, no, good points. I mean, again, apologies. I'm a Sega kid, but apologies, Sonic community. I made the business decision of going God of War, and I know, again, we're going to get killed. This is the final Duke, but,
the furries are going to be after you, Cog.
Oh, yeah. The furries will be after. And it's crazy. I'm a Sega kid, too. They go like, you traitor. Like, I get it.
I love Sonic.
I love Sonic, too. You know what I'm saying? But, shout out to Nevitz. I think that I don't get as mad on the reusing of assets. I think it's actually a commonplace thing in the industry, right? And I think gamers don't realize. I think what's happened now is gamers have gotten more aware of levels and things like that. Now they're very quick to point out. Like you'll see the screenshots, they did this, or they didn't put enough, here, or they reused that. That being said, even though it is part of the
animation scandal.
Oh, don't remember the boat animation. We went through Puddlegate and Spider-Man. We went through, Halo. Look at how much fruit, and the fruit physics don't move when you shoot this. And I'm just like, oh boy, like, bro, they outside on Twitter and social media on these games, like, because it's a lot of it is just fanboys want to use bragging rights on which game looks better. So they're quick to point out a flaw in something that they think to show, perceived weakness or something, whatever. Anyway. My thing is, I do feel your point on like level set piece reuse, right? And I gotta, come for Halo Infinite a little bit because it was just like, I get it. We're in this, foresty biome, and then they were kind of like, you had your corridor levels and stuff like that. And I did wish we had a little bit more biome diversity in Halo Infinite, and maybe it'll come, but that was like my little criticism towards it. In their defense, it's the first time Halo's kind of gone open world kind of thing as opposed to levels, so to speak. So I kind of get that. But I think like generally, if I can notice it, where it's like it's either the same kind of levels or like the dialogue is really, you're just hearing the same things over and over again. Sometimes it does detract from the experience a little bit. It does take you out of, being in the moment and suspending disbelief and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't go too crazy, with it. I think the only times I could I think of a time where I was disgusted. I can't remember a time where I was just like, yo, this is just awful. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So it probably is. I just can't think of it off top.
I just thought of another one, a specific example. Metal Hellsinger, which is a game, another day one Game Pass game. I really love that game. A phenomenal experience for me personally, at least, because of the mixture of styles that it had. But I will say that the one thing that was a little bit disappointing for me was that, like, after the first 2-3 levels, all the enemy varieties you've already seen them. You're going to see the same thing. Even the bosses at the end of the levels, until you get to the very last stage, the boss for each level is going to be the same. Now, granted, that's not the point of that game. There's a lot of other things about that game that are the point: the rhythm, the music, everything like that. But that was a game that I loved. But that was my major detractor from it. Is just like, I've seen all of this, except this is a different level. But I've seen everything inside of it, all the characters and all the enemies and the attack variations and stuff like that. So that's an example that I can pull from fairly recently.
No, it's a good one. And I think that's when it can take away from the experience, right? And that's when you kind of detract a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's something that goes on in the industry, and it's a balance that devs have to kind of navigate. And I don't envy them, because I'm definitely not dev, and I know how difficult that stuff must be. So salute to them on that. But we got Neo JD. Sup, Dookie boys? Something I was reminded of while playing God of War Ragnarok is how visceral some of Sony's first-party titles can be. Kratos, Joel and Ellie, and even Jin Sakai have moments where you could just destroy people, and while gruesome, there's a sense of fun and release with it. Do you think Xbox is capable of delivering this type of feeling with their characters currently, or is that sort of character missing in their arsenal? The one that comes to mind for me might be Doomslayer, but he feels more goofy than grounded. Thanks, and have a oh shit, there's decapitations in this kind of day. I like this, Neo JD, man. What you feeling about this? You think he's got a point? Sony's first party versus Xbox games?
I think he has a point, but I think the question is the wrong question, maybe. I don't know if it's that, is Microsoft capable of this? Because I think they're capable of it. I think it's more of an intent thing. Does Microsoft want to have the realistic sad dad simulators, which, by the way, I love them. Okay, I love them.
They're going to come for you. You better careful, man. I'm trying to protect you.
But that's what they are. Okay. Oh, that's what they are. I mean, some of them. And so, we talked earlier about the dude bro shooters and all that kind of stuff, and we've got Halo, and yeah, there's some gruesome stuff, but there's not a lot of blood flying and stuff like that. You got ragdoll physics, of course, but you've got Gears of War, and you've got nasty stuff happening in there, and that's great. And you've got chainsaws literally ripping through monsters. You've got Doom now; they're under the Microsoft brand, under Xbox. So of course that's going to be, that's very visceral in some sense. But he's right; they are a little more goofy, and I don't know if that's intentional, but if they wanted it to be, it almost could be. Because if all of a sudden you had an Xbox game kind of using that as the impetus for you to play the game, or for the reason that you're attracted to it, I feel like that kind of goes away from what Microsoft has been traditionally known for. We can still have that just one that you're looking for without copycatting something else, another genre.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're capable. I think some of the devs, especially now under Microsoft, are some of the best in the industry. I just don't know that that's the style that people want from. And I'm going to say something controversial here for
Let's
you,
go.
at least.
Let's go.
I'm all about any game being on any platform, whatever. I don't understand the push for JRPGs when the audience isn't on Xbox. I know we want to get that audience to Xbox, but I'm saying, like, is that their best path forward when they know they're not going to sell as many copies as they could on other platforms?
Ooh,
so for me, it's kind of the same thing of Xbox has not developed, they have not cultured this kind of approach. So would it be smart for them to go that approach? Maybe. I don't know.
Good one. This is a great question. I love this question. Love the comments here. So much to unpack. All right. So to Neo's point, I am team #JustWhat. Obviously, y'all know the story. We don't have to get into it. I love those type of games. I'm playing God of War Ragnarok right now, and I'm smiling ear to ear, right? I'm just like, okay, this is what really excites me. I love the visceral nature. I love the camera angles. I love how it pans, and I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me, I'm not going to lie. Like, I just be like, man, I wish Xbox had a game like this, right? And it really does bother me. Now, for me, the overall vision to what you said, I think, is the right call, which is if your business model is Game Pass, and your business model is getting it to all these different gamers and all these different platforms, you have to have a diverse lineup. You can't have just the sad day, and I get it. The reason why I'm hashtag just one is because I do feel, yeah, you have diversity, but you give me one of those, right? Now, in their credit, Hellblade technically is that. Hellblade 2, in my opinion, technically, if you play Hellblade 1, yeah, it uses ambiance and uses sound, but there was a visceral nature to it when you did fight. The combat could use work from 1, but I'm anticipating Hellblade 2 to be that, right? Now, where I'm still not going to let the foot off of Xbox's neck is you can make a new IP in that vein. Because technically Hellblade existed. This is a sequel, right? Yeah. So all I want is just one of the studios, right? We know what I want. So to this point, I think it's the right call to have a diverse lineup. And getting to your point about JRPGs, I get it. We're not going to sit here and say that, these games sound like gangbusters on Xbox. But I do feel you have to fight. You have to fight to have genres on. You can't have holes in your lineup, kind of thing. And that's where the variety of Game Pass, because again, if they're going to try to reach all these different type of users, there's some guys, even though let's just say the sales might not reflect that JRPGs do well, but I always feel that what made PlayStation successful is that because they had that diversity, there's a guy that's like, hey, I'm buying a PlayStation just for this, right? I don't really care about God of War. I don't really care about Last of Us. But, they got, I don't know, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I care about that. All right, they got this little nuanced game, and it's exclusive to the platform, and no one else has it, and that one's exciting. And I think that's the beauty of variety, because you get a gamer that, and then once they're in, they go, oh, there's this other stuff kind of thing. So I think it's important. Look, I think I'm with you. I think I'm completely confident Xbox can make that type of game. Yeah, I'm completely. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried that there's like some mantra that they can't make that type of game. They've been told not to. I just think that the way Xbox operates, they kind of like, hey, we're not going to force you to do a vision, right? And we're going to empower you to do the vision you want. And I think they will come. So that's my overall thing on it. But yeah, we made it, man. Hashtag, we got a hashtag we got to think about at the end of this show. There's a lot to talk about. We had the Doom thing, we had the Mass Effect thing. I think that, the
talked
Doom.
about booty.
We talked about booty. We definitely talked about that.
Do booty DD.
We could do booty DD. There's a lot of questions there, but I do think there's a part of me that pushes back only that. I know Maddie really wants to talk about that music thing. So it's like, yeah, I was thinking something with Doom and maybe music and. I mean, Doom DD is kind of simple, but what do you think?
What if we gave some homages to the composers?
Okay.
Somehow. Composer DD.
Composer DD.
There we go. Give some credit where it's due.
No doubt. So if you got this far in the episode, on social media, please tweet that out. Hashtag Composer DD, and put your social in there so you can tell people where to find you, so they can also hashtag you.
I'm on Twitter, Ben Smith 2588.
No doubt. It's at Lord Cognito for me. Again, thank you for getting to the end of the show. Appreciate the support from the whole LSM fam, the community. We've been rocking and rolling. Again, Maddie, get better, and more defining Duke to come. But anything else you got to say before we wrap up on out of here, man?
I appreciate being on the show. Thanks for having me, Cog. For
no doubt.
Thanks for Maddie for getting us up early and then bailing on us. But just the main reminder is if you're interested in going to the LSM live event in Houston and you're watching this the day it comes out or the day after, tickets are on sale the 11th for patrons. So if you're a current patron, you can go get your ticket. If you're not a patron and you want to sign up for $1, you'll get access to buy tickets. And then everybody else on the 21st. So we'll see you there, hopefully.
No doubt we'll see you there. Looking forward to seeing you in the flesh again, meeting the whole team again, hanging out with the community. So fun. Met so many people as a result of that because of the last LSM1. So I'm excited for that. Again, appreciate the support for the community. And that's all we got. Latest Defining Duke is complete. Everybody enjoy your day, and we are out. Peace.
See ya.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.